Chapter 2353. Tang Tang takes after mommy. Yi Wanwan's eyes brightened instantly. My baby Tang Tang is calling me. Alright, go back, foolish K. Lin K's face darkened. I talked to you for so long, but you won't even offer me a cup of tea and are kicking me out like this? You throw me away as soon as you don't need me anymore? Aren't you too heartless? Yi Wanwan glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. Am I? I think you're rather happy with gossiping. You had such a large scoop but didn't dare to tell anyone. You must have felt quite suffocated, right? Lin K. She actually saw through that? Fine, you win. After getting rid of Lin K, Yi Wanwan immediately accepted Tang Tang's call. Yi Wanwan's voice turned as gentle as water at once. Hello, baby. Tang Tang. Mommy. Sharply detecting something gloomy in the little fella's voice from the other end, Yi Wanwan anxiously asked at once. What happened, Tang Tang? Are you sad? Did something happen? The little fella seemed to hesitate for a moment before worriedly saying, No. Tang Tang is just worried about mommy. Mommy, is there someone bullying you? Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows. Huh. Bully mommy? No way. Who could be bullying mommy? After a moment, Tang Tang replied. Paternal grandmother is bullying mommy. Yi Wanwan was shocked. Paternal grandmother? Tang Tang's referring to Yin Yuerong? Tang Tang answered immediately. That's right. Grandmother is very mean and very scary and won't allow you to be with daddy. And she's bullying mommy. Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. Who told you this nonsense? Tang Tang acted pretty loyally and replied. I found out myself. Tell me the truth. Who told you? Uncle told me. Tang Tang added. I also heard it from Grandpa and Grandma. One word from mommy and Tang Tang immediately sold out Uncle, Grandpa, and Grandma. Yi Wanwan rubbed her forehead exasperatedly and hastily said, Don't listen to their nonsense. It's completely false. Mommy didn't get bullied, and grandmother isn't that scary. Grandmother is very nice and treats mommy very well. When Yi Wanwan listened to Lin K telling her about Si Yihan's childhood, she was utterly shocked. Si Yihan was stripped of nearly all of the goodness from this world. She didn't want to let Tang Tang inherit these negative emotions or live with resentment and fear. Really? Tang Tang asked. Yi Wanwan immediately replied. Of course. Would mommy lie to you? The little fella breathed a sigh of relief instantly. I believe mommy. Yi Wanwan gently said. That's right. In truth, your uncle and the others misunderstood. Your grandmother is, she has some issues with her EQ. She just doesn't appear to be easy to get along with, but she's actually a good person. Yi Wanwan tried her best to make herself forget about Yin Yuerong's chilly face, and uttered those words with difficulty. Thankfully, baby Tang Tang was easy to pacify and would believe everything she said. He obediently promised her. Mommy, Tang Tang understands. Tang Tang won't listen to other people's nonsense anymore. So good. As Yi Wanwan said that, she thought of something and suddenly felt slightly unnerved inside. Baby, mommy's really worried about your future EQ. What if you inherited your dad's and your grandmother's EQ? What would we do? Tang Tang immediately comforted her without any hesitation. Don't worry, mommy. Tang Tang takes after mommy. Yi Wanwan's eyes brightened. She was overfilled with joy. Haha, you're right, baby. My baby's EQ clearly takes after mine. Chapter 2354. He's your real son-in-law. At the same time elsewhere, the Arbitration Council's summit was progressing intensely. The Arbitration Council's summit every year would last half a month, and if there were various affairs that required attention, it might get extended. They were currently handling the trickier and more complicated affairs at the Arbitration Council summit this year. Yin Yuerong swept her eyes over all attendees before her gaze landed on Si Yihan. She icily said, I believe everyone is aware of the incident relating to the Rose of Death. An evil cult like the Rose of Death has always been a focal target of our Arbitration Council, and the newest leader of the Rose of Death, Worryless Nya, has always been the #1 person on the Arbitration Council's list. Worryless Nya has remained in hiding for so many years and escaped the Arbitration Council's capture. Now that she's appeared, she continues to deny her relation to the Rose of Death, But there isn't any evidence that can prove that. Are you saying we're going to spare such a large malignant tumor simply because of her empty words? When the higher-ups and directors heard Yin Yuerong's righteously indignant speech, they conversed amongst themselves and all nodded in agreement. That's right. Every leader of the Rose of Death has antagonized the Arbitration Council and blatantly ignore our laws. They've always been the biggest malignant tumors to the Arbitration Council. We must eliminate a weed at its roots, or else the wildfire will blaze endlessly and surge again with the spring breeze. I absolutely agree with Director Yin on this point. That's right, that's right. At this moment, a cool and low voice interrupted everyone's discussion. Si Yihan glanced at Yin Yuerong aloofly. Director Yin, allow me to remind you that you also don't have any evidence to prove she's related to the Rose of Death. Director Yin snorted immediately. Don't have evidence? Back then, the Arbitration Council already discovered she possessed the Rose of Death symbol token. For anyone who possesses that ring, it's the same as inheriting the Rose of Death. Si Yihan said. However, the reality is that the Rose of Death has vanished without a trace the past few years and has shown no signs of re-emerging. Director Yin retorted promptly. Who knows if it's because she's biding her time and preserving and nurturing her power to make us lower our guards. Before convicting someone of a crime, please show your evidence, Director Yin. Don't provide baseless conjectures from start to end. I believe the Arbitration Council isn't a place that rashly convicts people. At the summit, the mother and son duo had their swords drawn and neither were willing to yield a step, filling the room with smoke. Everyone looked at each other blankly and didn't dare to interject. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh light novel. Orgi Lingjun remained silently and calmly watched the duo clashing, until his phone suddenly vibrated several times in a row. Yi Lingjun took it out and discovered he got messages from Yi Wanwan. Dad, remember to help your son-in-law out during the meeting. Yin Yuerong is too scary and too strong. I'm seriously worried about Audiobook fending her off by himself. Only you can suppress her, Dad, so I'm relying on you. Dad, Si Yihan is your real son-in-law. Mo. Yi Lingjuan's lips twitched, and his face glowered. When a girl was of age, she really had to be married off. While the mother and son duo continued to go head-to-head with each other, Yi Lingjun was madly bombarded by Yi Wanwan. In the end, Yi Lingjun broke under Yi Wanwan's continual calls of dad, and could only clear his throat and interrupt the duo. All right, Director Yin, Director Si, stop arguing and please hear me out. Yin Yuerong and Si Yihan finally stopped after Yi Lingjun spoke, but the low pressure in the conference room persisted. Chapter 2355. I can be her guarantor for her whole life. Ahem, Director Yin. In truth, Director C's words aren't unreasonable. Back then, the Arbitration Council did indeed act a bit carelessly in laying down an Arbitration Council kill order toward worryless Nia, Yi Lingjun said. Yin Yuerong's tone eased several degrees as she said. Although the Arbitration Council issued an absolute kill order for her back then, an investigation would have occurred first after she was captured. Yet, that woman fled for so long without a word. Doesn't that completely show a guilty conscience? Si Yihan leisurely replied, You're overthinking, Director Yin. Worryless Nia left with me and spent those years away with me. Furthermore, I've already used my position as director to act as her guarantor. When Yin Yuerong saw her son still speaking on that woman's behalf at a time like this, her face turned colder. Guarantor? What a good guarantor. You can be her guarantor for now, but what about later? How long can you be her guarantor? Si Yihan replied without a trace of hesitation. Her whole life. Faced with Yin Yuerong's dumbfounded expression, Si Yihan replied apathetically, I can be her guarantor for her whole life. Yin Yuerong started. You. As Yi Lingjun listened to his words and saw his unwavering gaze from start to end, praise flitted through his own eyes. Heh, I heard Director C and worryless Nia are engaged already. Since you two will become family in the future, there doesn't seem to be any problems with Director C's words. Many directors changed their opinions after Yi Lingjun spoke. Ahem, since she's getting married to Director C, even if she had intentions to revolt, Director C would conduct counter-espionage on her. I think this guarantee is rather trustworthy. Lingjun cleared his throat, indicating for everyone to quiet down. He then started talking business. I have a very important matter to inform everyone. In truth, concerning the Arbitration Council's laws, a large number of objections and resentments have been stacking up from the people for a long time. I think it is time to conduct a complete reform. Lingjun possessed immense prestige, and many people expressed their support as soon as he spoke. You're right, President. Your foresight is brilliant, President. Yuerong never expected Lingjun to actually agree to amend the laws. She instantly shot up and said, President how can we change the laws passed down from our ancestors on a whim like this? You previously said that we absolutely couldn't abolish our ancestors' laws. Director please sit. I, of course, am not intending to abolish them. I am amending them. You have to understand that it is more dangerous to stop the people from speaking than to block the flow of a river. The boat can be carried by the water, but water can also overturn it. We should prioritize the people's opinions. This is more important than upholding the ancestors' rules. Of course, we can't change things at the drop of a hat. I'll have to trouble all of you to carefully discuss it in detail. Lingjun then paused and signaled Medusa, who was nearby, before speaking. Regarding this, Director C has completed a great amount of work and analysis. I had the files copied and will now distribute them. Please take a look, everyone. Soon, Medusa handed out the copied documents to all of the higher-ups. Yuerong accepted a document and immediately started flipping through it, her expression growing more terrible after every page. When she saw one of the amendments, her expression changed abruptly. What? They were going to abolish the law of prohibiting residents of the independent state from marrying people outside of the independent state? No. She absolutely wouldn't allow this type of proposed bill to pass. Chapter 2356. Everything was swell if this bill passed. It'd be the same as finding worryless Nya not guilty. Furthermore, how could they allow the people of the independent state to get married to lowly outsiders and contaminate their bloodlines? Worryless Nya. It was all because of this woman. If it weren't for that woman, why would Audio have defied her in this manner? The next day at dawn, at a private room in a tea house, Hung wore a pandering smile as he looked at the man sitting in the head seat. Lord Yuan, about this matter. Hung started. The man was dressed in a dirty black windbreaker and wearing a black face mask, concealing his full face. Before Hung could finish, the man addressed Lord Yuan waved his hand and picked up the steaming tea from the table, carefully tasting it. Upon seeing this, Hung didn't dare to continue and could only wait until the man spoke first. This Lord Yuan was the extremely elusive and famous leader of Fengsha mercenary. However, very few people had seen his real appearance. No one knew when Fengsha mercenary was established. However, they not only had mercenaries but also extremely professional assassins. In the 12 independent states, many leaders of major factions had been assassinated by assassins from Fengsha mercenary. Hung. A long while later, Lord Yuan finished drinking his cup of tea and stared meaningfully at Hung. Lord Yuan, if there are any problems, speak openly. We aren't strangers and our brotherhood isn't new. Hung said with a faint smile. Lord Yuan nodded. All right, since you've said that, I won't beat about the bush. Hung, Yunma is a member of the clan, right? Estate could only nod and truthfully admit. Indeed. To be candid with you, aside from being a member of the clan, Yunma is also the daughter of the current president of the Arbitration Council, Lingjun. She recently returned from abroad. Oh, you're telling me she's the daughter of President Yi? Lord Yuan was pensive. That's right. Hung nodded. Hey Hung, Fengsha has always been on good terms with the Arbitration Council, and we both stay in our own lanes. Now you want me to accept this job. If we wanted to complete this mission, Fengsha would offend two major factions in the 12 independent states, the clan and the Arbitration Council. So, tell me, is this deal worth it? Lord Yuan aloofly asked with a smile. Lord Yuan, I understand what you're saying, but I believe that with your abilities and the strength of Fengsha, taking care of Yunma would be as easy as blowing off dust. Moreover, I believe that the Arbitration Council and the E-Clan absolutely wouldn't discover any trace of your involvement, In Hung replied. Lord Yuan's lips turned up. Although that's the truth, that's not how it works. Our Fengsha might be capable, but this mission still has risks. Brother In Hung, don't you agree? Yes, you're very correct, Lord Yuan. In Hung nodded several times. So don't hesitate to raise any terms you have, Lord Yuan. As long as you're willing to accept this mission, everything is negotiable, Lord Yuan. Lord Yuan's fingers lightly tapped against the surface of the table, as he seemed to mull over something. In Hung could only wait quietly, not daring to disturb the man. After several minutes, Lord Yuan finally looked up at In again. In truth, it's not that we can't accept this mission. However, it won't be easy. Chapter 2357. Second term. When In Hung heard Lord Yuan, he became invigorated. Lord Yuan, tell me. Whatever terms you want, I, In Hung, will do everything I can to fulfill them as long as I can do it. You. Lord Yuan glanced at In Hung and chuckled lightly. In Hung, it's not that old brother is looking down on you, but I'm afraid you can't fulfill my request. Although In Hung was chagrined, he didn't dare to retort, and could only respond with a pandering smile. Lord Yuan, please lay out your thoughts. All right. Lord Yuan chuckled again. I don't care about you or any of your objectives. I just have 2 terms. My first term is that Fengsha wants this amount. Lord Yuan extended several fingers, expressing the price mentally. This price. Isn't it a little? In Hung frowned deeply after seeing Lord Yuan's listed price. Wasn't he demanding an exorbitant price? Don't rush to make a decision based on the price. Hear my second term first, Lord Yuan continued. In Hung reined in his emotions and said with a nod. Okay. Continue, Lord Yuan. For this second term, my previous sentiment still holds. I don't care about your objective. However, regardless of who obtains power in the future Arbitration Council, as long as I accomplish this mission, Fengsha mercenary must be treated as the Arbitration Council's official mercenary, Lord Yuan said. Official? In Hung started cursing after his initial shock passed. This was more exorbitant than his first demand. When did the Arbitration Council ever have an official mercenary team? Especially one with a not-so-great reputation like Fengsha. Lord Yuan, how about we discuss it some more? In Hung suggested after mulling it over for a moment. No need. Lord Yuan replied indifferently. Brother In Hung, you don't have room to negotiate here with me. Whether it's the first term or the second term, you must do as I ask. Of course, both sides have to be willing in a business deal. If you're not willing, then we can say we merely met to catch up today and share a cup of tea together. It's not a problem. Lord Yuan, regarding the price, there shouldn't be a problem, but if you want to make Fengsha the Arbitration Council's official mercenary group, well, I'm afraid it's not something I can decide. In Hung answered with a furrow of his brows. Oh, Lord Yuan snorted. What, brother In? Are you playing with me? If you can't even decide a trivial matter like this, why did you invite me here? Lord Yuan, wait a moment. The next second, In Hung called Qin Shiyuan. The call ended within a minute and In Hung turned to Lord Yuan again. I agree to both of your terms, Lord Yuan. Should we go through the formalities and sign a paper contract? Brother In Hung, that won't be necessary. I believe Brother In Hung wouldn't dare to go back on your word. After saying that, Lord Yuan threw down several bills on the tea table. I will pay for the tea today. Then he left the tea house. In Hung finally heaved a sigh of relief as he watched Lord Yuan's departing figure. This man might look harmless, but he terrified him. Especially that sentence. You won't go back on your word. Indeed, if In Hung went back on his word and didn't fulfill his promise to Fengsha, an abyss would await him. However, since the leader of Fengsha, Lord Yuan, agreed to the deal of assassinating Yi Yunma, In Hung could relax. In this world, there was nearly nothing Fengsha couldn't accomplish if they wanted to. See Yihan, did you think you latched onto Yi Lingjuan's daughter? What you're clutching will end up becoming a corpse. You're fated to be beneath me for eternity and will never win. In Hang's eyes were stormy as his lips curled up into an icy smile. Chapter 2358. Do you deserve it? Late at night, in the residence Yi Lingjun prepared for Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan's eyes shot open. For some reason, she sensed movement outside the house and called housekeeper Wu several times, but no one responded. Yi Wanwan immediately dressed herself and walked toward the living room. Yi Wanwan flipped on the light switch in the living room, but the room didn't light up as she expected. Yi Wanwan didn't give up and persistently flipped it several more times, but received the same results. The power's out. Yi Wanwan was puzzled. In all her time in the independent state, she'd never heard about the power going out. Missy, don't waste your time. The electrical circuit has been cut, so you won't be able to turn on the lights in this house. In the midst of Yi Wanwan's confusion, a crystal-clear voice rang out from the sofa. Who? This abrupt voice startled Yi Wanwan, an incredulous expression on her face. Where were they? This was the House Yi Lingjun, the president of the Arbitration Council, arranged for his daughter, Yunma. Although it wasn't tightly guarded, it would be a lunatic's ravings to circumvent all of the security and guards and infiltrate this place. Who in the world was this man? However, this man's voice sounded faintly familiar, giving her a sense of déjà vu. However, Yi Wanwan couldn't recall it at this very second. Missy, you don't need to know who I am. You don't have the right to know either. The man replied with an airy chuckle. As the man spoke, he lit a cigarette, the weak flame akin to the bright ray of the sun in this pitch-black house. In truth, Yi Wanwan and Yi Lingjun had discussed the recent circumstances, and Yi Lingjun mentioned that Yi Wanwan's appearance would surely damage many people's prospects, so some people might act secretly. Swish! Instantly, a chilly glint surfaced in Yi Wanwan's eyes, and she attacked the man. Regardless of who this man was or his purpose, she had to capture him first and interrogate him. Yi Wanwan was incredibly fast, but despite that, she still wasn't a match for the man. When Yi Wanwan reached the sofa, the man had stood up and left already, and was standing in a corner of the living room. I really couldn't tell Miss Yi's abilities had gotten to this extent. The man smiled at Yi Wanwan with a puff of smoke. There are many things you don't know. Yi Wanwan's voice was bone-chilling. Miss Yi, you don't have to worry too much for now. I didn't mean anything by paying you this late-night visit. I merely wanted to say hello to you, Miss Yi. Is this how you treat all of your visiting? The man asked with amusement. Guest? Yi Wanwan snorted. Do you deserve special treatment? Haha, everyone says Miss Yi is arrogant to her bones, and it's truly a well-deserved reputation. I've finally witnessed it for myself today. The man chuckled. Upon hearing silence from Yi Wanwan, the man continued. Doesn't Miss Yi want to know the purpose of my visit today? I'm listening, Yi Wanwan said. In truth, I didn't have much reason to come here tonight. I simply wanted to inform you, Miss Yi, that I'll personally strip away your life in the next few days, the man announced with a calm tone. Strip away my life? Yi Wanwan's lips turned up. I don't think that's necessary. Now is the perfect opportunity to take my life. Why don't you give it a try right now? Chapter 2359. Give me a look of your treasure, Miss Yi. That would be too meaningless, the man said. Taking your life right now would truly be too easy. That way there wouldn't be any challenge, and that isn't my style. Hence I thought I'd better inform Miss Yi first. Only after Miss Yi is on her guard and I finish my mission would there be a sense of achievement. What do you think, Miss Yi? You might be too arrogant, Yi Wanwan mocked. In terms of arrogance, I pale in comparison to Miss Yi, the man retorted. Before Yi Wanwan could say anything else, the man continued. Please remember, Miss Yi, that you have 3 days at most. I will attack during any of these days. I hope Miss Yi will add some difficulty for me, or else it'd be utterly meaningless to me. Then the man acted like a whiff of wind and swiftly opened the window and jumped out, disappearing without a trace. At the same time, Yi Wanwan's frowned deeply. Just what was this man's background? That night, Yi Wanwan barely slept a wink. When the sun rose on the horizon the next morning, Yi Wanwan left her residence and headed for the Yi residence to seek out Yi Lingjun. After listening to Yi Wanwan's reiteration of last night's incident, Yi Lingjun tilted his head pensively. Increase his difficulty, how interesting, Yi Lingjun remarked. Don't interesting me. Your daughter was nearly assassinated yet you're amazed here. Yi Wanwan exasperatedly rolled her eyes at Yi Lingjun. What do you mean nearly assassinated? Aren't you standing here perfectly fine? I think this nearly is thousands of miles from the truth, no? Yi Lingjun said. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. Was this the proper attitude of a dad? That's because he thought it was simple and didn't want to act, Yi Wanwan explained. Simple. Yi Lingjun stared at Yi Wanwan, his lips turning up. To me, taking you on is hell mode and not simple at all. Your elderly self knows nothing, all right? Yi Wanwan glanced at Yi Lingjun. That man last night came and went without a trace. His strength was absolutely super top tier. I barely escaped with my life. Yi Lingjun nodded lightly and looked at her. What? Should I mobilize a military brigade to safeguard you? Yi Wanwan's eyes lit up. Of course. But a brigade is too much. A company would be enough. Hold on. Yi Lingjun pursed his lips. After something like this happened, you should have gone to find that punk Si Yihin to protect you, right? Why did you come running to me immediately? Yi Wanwan smiled. I'm currently Yi Yunma. After an incident like this occurred, wouldn't it be a joke if I went to find Audiobook and other people found out about it? I'd be disgracing your esteemed reputation. Think about it. Something happened to your dear daughter, but she didn't come to find you and went off to another man instead. What would happen to your old face? Old face? Yi Lingjun furrowed his brows. No, young face. Yi Wanwan hastily corrected herself. All right, stop bootlicking me. This is a minor matter for you, so resolve it yourself, Yi Lingjun said. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. Is he serious? Yi Wanwan wanted to say something else, but Yi Lingjun waved his hand and interrupted her. He stared at her and said, Come on, take out your treasure and give me a look. Chapter 2360. You are very correct, treasure? Yi Wanwan was startled. What treasure? Where did the treasure come from? I don't have any treasure. Are you still pretending? Did you think you could hide it from me with that petty trick? Enough nonsense, take it out, Yi Lingjun said. Can't you give me a hint? I really don't know, Yi Wanwan quickly said. Hint. Yi Lingjun smiled faintly. Pa. Yi Wanwan. Of course you can also interpret it as bang bang bang, Yi Lingjun said. Yi Wanwan. How did this old devil know? Doesn't he know too much? Take it out already. Are you waiting for me to take it out for you? Yi Lingjun shot Yi Wanwan a look from the corner of his eyes. With a hint of embarrassment on her face, Yi Wanwan had no choice but to pull out a gun from her pocket and gently place it on the table. Yi Lingjun stared at the gun on the table and peered left and right, examining it for several solid minutes before snorting. Real thing, huh? Nice. Quite gutsy. Don't you know firearms are the biggest taboo in the independent state? You dared to commit such a fundamental error? Yi Wanwan ingratiatingly smiled. Sir Father, look, the independent state is so dangerous. Am I not carrying this thing for self-defense? Anyway, it's not like I used it. This gun was secretly snatched when Xia launched his final attack in Yun City. After coming to Tianshui City, it was a perfect means of protection for her. Sir Father, look, I'm Yi Yunma. Yi Yunma has lived abroad for so many years and has a gun permit. Yi Wanwan continued. Are you serious? Are we abroad? Yi Lingjun asked. It hasn't been long since Yi Yunma returned to the independent state, so isn't it reasonable that she doesn't know the rules of the independent state? As they say, the ignorant are faultless, Yi Wanwan replied with a light chuckle. You're very correct. Yi Lingjun nodded and promptly took away the gun on the table. I still have to confiscate it. Damn it. Yi Wanwan wished nothing more than to glare Yi Lingjun to death. This was her life-saving treasure. What? You're mad? Yi Lingjun mocked her. Fine, you win. You won't dispatch people to protect me, and you actually confiscated my treasure. Fine, you win. Yi Wanwan turned to leave. Come back here, Yi Lingjun ordered. What do you want, old father? Yi Wanwan asked with irritation. Yi Lingjun looked around him and ascertained there wasn't anyone there before secretively saying to Yi Wanwan, Come closer. Yi Wanwan walked over and stopped next to Yi Lingjun. Yi Lingjun pulled out the drawer underneath his desk. Yi Wanwan froze in her spot instantly. This was a full drawer of treasures. What was that toy you had? It's too trashy and can only fire a few bullets. If you miss, wouldn't you be screwed then? Anyway, the range isn't good enough and it's too noisy and conspicuous. After saying that, Yi Lingjun pulled one out from the drawer and handed it to Yi Wanwan. Look at this one. The range is far, it's quiet, the bullets change quickly. Most importantly, Yi Lingjun took out a black silencer. Combined with this piece, you'd truly be killing people without anyone finding out. It's excellent. Yi Wanwan. This was the He Lianjue she knew. That's right. Yi Wanwan never expected Yi Lingjun to possess so many treasures as the president of the Arbitration Council. He was the person who ignored the fundamental rules the most, wasn't he? Chapter 2361. Is there something wrong with your head? Come, I'll give you some more bullets. You can resist an army of 1,000 now, no? Yi Lingjun said with a chuckle. Yi Wanwan quietly put away the treasure. These next few days you'd be better staying at home and refraining from going outside. I'll mobilize some people to guard the perimeters of your place, Yi Lingjun added. Understood. Yi Wanwan nodded. In reality, now that she possessed this treasure, what manpower did she need? After leaving the residence, Yi Wanwan returned to her residence and stayed home for a whole 3 days. In these 3 days though, the man didn't appear. Yi Wanwan couldn't help but snort. He declared he would strip away her life within 3 days, but there wasn't a trace of him. About a week later, it was late at night again when an odd noise rang out in the house. Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. This time, she learned her lesson and quietly flipped on the lights in her bedroom first. However, just like last time, the circuits might have been cut and the light didn't turn on. Yi Wanwan loaded the bullets and slowly treaded out of her bedroom. Miss E, my sincerest apologies. I had business the past couple of days, so I was delayed. I didn't make Missy wait too long, right? The man's voice came from the usual place. No worries. I'm very curious though. Who sent you to kill me? Yi Wanwan asked. Miss E, everything regarding our employers is confidential. The man replied in good humor. Is that so? Yi Wanwan's lips curled up as she pointed the dark end of the gun toward the man. What if I ask you now? Is it still confidential? With the faint moonlight outside, the man saw the gun in Yi Wanwan's hand. You're the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president. Yet you break the rules and use firearms? The man furrowed his brows. Break the rules. That'd require someone to find out first, no? As Yi Wanwan spoke, she put on the gun's silencer. Look, my place has decent soundproofing already, and when I add this, no one will notice. No one will know you died. No one will know how you died. Since you won't say, I don't want to know. Goodbye. Yi Wanwan's lips curled up, and she gently pulled the trigger. However, a second later, there wasn't a decibel of noise. Damn. How come there isn't any sound with this silencer? Yi Wanwan was astonished. Haha, I don't think it's the silencer that's making it noiseless, Missy. I wager you don't have any bullets inside your gun. The man's voice was still present. Yi Wanwan's brows locked together, and she opened the magazine and indeed, the bullets she loaded earlier had disappeared without a trace. Where were her bullets? Miss E, are these yours? The man extended his hand and carelessly tossed some bullets onto the floor. You win. Yi Wanwan was stunned. This man stole her bullets. Miss Wanwan, you might be overly underestimating my strength. The man shook his head and reached into his pockets, also drawing out a gun. The black end pointed precisely at Yi Wanwan. Evidently, this man also didn't care about the rules. Thankfully, she wore a bulletproof vest. As long as she didn't get hit in the head, she would be fine. All right, Miss E, everything will end now. May I ask what final words you have to say? The man asked. Before Yi Wanwan could respond, a ringtone resounded in the room. The man looked apologetically at Yi Wanwan. Miss E, please wait a moment. I will take this call first. He then ignored Yi Wanwan and took out his phone. Nameless Nia, is there something wrong with your head? Don't you know I'm carrying out a mission? Why are you calling me? The man sounded disgruntled. Chapter 2362. He wants to kill me. Yuanwan was startled. Whose name did he say just now? Nameless Nia? Yuanwan even thought she had misheard. However, in the silent night, Yuanwan could faintly hear a familiar voice from the other end of the phone. What mission? You're not giving me a share? The man snorted. What mission could it be? Didn't I tell you last time? Kill the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president. I remember now. How's the compensation? You should know about a mission like this. The risk we undertake is high, so the compensation is naturally satisfactory. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to take it, the man replied. Yuanwan was dumbfounded. Wasn't he carrying out his mission? Why is he starting a long phone conversation? Next time you have a mission like this, call me up. What? You need money again? The man smiled. Ling Miao's current treatment costs a lot of money. I understand. Tell me when you need money. After I finish this mission, I'll send you the money. Also, I asked about Ling Miao for you. There are several specialists overseas, so I'll invite them here so they can analyze Ling Miao's situation. The man said after a moment of thought. Okay. Talk to you later, I'm busy right now. Got it. I'll let you go. The man hung up afterward. The man's gaze landed on Yuanwan again, his lips turning up. Missy, sorry about my friend calling and making you wait. Let's start over again. Your friend is Nameless Nia? The corners of Yuanwan's lips twitched. What? You want to act all familiar with me? Sorry, but it won't work with me. The man mocked her. Act your ass. Yuanwan called Nameless Nia immediately. What's happening? Nameless Nia's voice came from the other end. Nameless Nia, your friend wants to kill me. Yuanwan hastily cried. My friend? Wants to kill you? Nameless Nia sounded baffled. Yuanwan immediately turned on the speaker. It's the friend who you called just now. His mission's target is me. Talk to him yourself. Before Nameless Nia could say anything else, Yuanwan directly tossed the phone at the man across the room. The man frowned slightly and caught the phone but hung up. He then pulled out his own phone and dialed Nameless Nia's number. Hey, what mission did you accept? Nameless Nia questioned. Assassinating Yunma, the daughter of the Arbitration Council president, Lingjun. The man replied, his voice puzzled. If you're assassinating Lingjuan's daughter, why did my sister call me and tell me you're assassinating her? Nameless Nia turned more baffled. You're talking about Worryless Nia? I'm assassinating Worryless Nia? Is there something wrong with your head, Nameless Nia? Hold on, let me hang up. The man then ended the call and started a video call instead. The man held the gun in his left hand and the phone in his right hand, slowly stepping closer to Yuanwan. Soon Yuanwan saw Nameless Nia on the other man's phone screen. Brother! It's him. He wants to kill me. Yuanwan screamed at Nameless Nia. Worryless. Nameless Nia was startled when he saw Yuanwan. The man froze in his spot when he saw this brother and sister reuniting. You're Worryless Nia? But you don't look alike. Aren't you Yunma, the daughter of the Arbitration Council president? How did you turn into Worryless Nia? Chapter 2363. Rejected 8 times. Yuan Shao, fuck your grandpa, fuck your. Nameless Nia launched a tirade of curses from the other end. Yuan Shao. Yuanwan stared at the man in astonishment. So it's that guy. No wonder his voice sounded familiar. Yuanwan knew Yuan Shao many years ago when she was still in the independent state and hadn't gone to China yet. Back then, Yuan Shao and Nameless Nia were die-hard friends and often carried out all kinds of missions together. And Yuanwan had accompanied them several times. Yuanwan stripped the man of his black mask. When she saw that face clearly, she was at a loss for words. It really was Yuan Shao. Yuan Shao, you stupid idiot. If my younger sister is missing even a strand of hair, I will murder you. Alright, don't scream abuse in the street like a fishwife. You're so boorish. Why are you blaming me anyway? How would I know the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president, Yunma, was Worryless Nia? Did you know? Yuan Shao demanded with a frown. How would I know? Nameless Nia snapped brusquely. Nameless Nya, if even you, her real brother, didn't know, how could I have known? Where do you get the nerve to insult me? Scram. Yuan Shao hung up the video call, not giving Nameless Nya another opportunity to launch into a tirade. A moment later, Yuan Shao and Yi Wanwan stared at each other. You don't look like her. You also aren't as good looking as before. How did you change so much? Your looks have worsened. Yuan Shao stared at Yi Wanwan, an expression of agony on his face. Yi Wanwan, isn't there a problem with this fool's focus? Shouldn't he ask me why I became Yunma? Also, my looks worsened? Is he blind? I clearly made a comeback, alright. Worryless Nya. What the heck are you doing? Weren't you in Yun City? Why are you in Tianshui City now? And why did you become Yi Lingjuan's daughter? Yuan Shao was very confused. None of your business, Yi Wanwan replied. Yuan Zhao's phone started ringing again. Yuan Shao, I'm gonna your grandfather. Nameless Nya resumed his yelling. Nameless Nya, I'll your grandfather. Not to be outdone, Yuan Shao cursed back before hanging up. Worryless Nya, your brother is so crude, Yuan Shao said to Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan glanced at Yuan Shao. Did he learn his insults from you? A real man doesn't boast about his past achievements. That's in the past. Oh right, I heard Nameless Nya mention that you ran off to China in the years you disappeared. Why? Yuan Shao inquired curiously. Don't waste my time. Hurry and put my house's circuits back together, Yi Wanwan irritatedly ordered him. Do you think I know how to restore them simply because I know how to cut them? Will you go or not? Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows. Fine, fine, fine. Minutes later, the light in the living room finally lit up again. Yi Wanwan sat on the sofa, carefully examining Yuan Shao. It had been many years, but the man didn't seem to look any different. His face was still as handsome as before without a sign of age. Yi Wanwan still vaguely remember how Yuan Shao confessed to her 8 times back then, and was heartlessly rejected by her all 8 times. When Yi Wanwan saw Yuan Shao was about to say something, she promptly interrupted him. Don't, you're a good person. Worryless Nya, what's wrong with you? How did you know what I was going to say? Yuan Shao demanded. Yi Wanwan stared at Yuan Shao. I'm used to it. Yuan Shao, let me ask you first. Just who made you come here to kill me? Yi Wanwan asked. Yuan Shao shook his head. No one made me come here to kill you. They wanted me to kill the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president, Yunma. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. She resisted the desire to spit out a profanity. Then, who asked you to come here to kill Yunma? That I can't tell you. We must keep the client's information confidential. This is a fundamental principle. Or else how would I survive if other people found out? Yuan Shao replied. Yi Wanwan narrowed her eyes and pulled out the Tang backsword underneath the table, her smile affable. Oh, fundamental principle? Yuan Shao declared solemnly. I actually don't have many principles. Yi Wanwan roared. Spit it out already. Yuan Shao dug into his ear, his face satisfied. Sigh, your looks might have worsened, but thankfully, your temper is still as likable as before. Are you Duem? Yi Wanwan asked. Why didn't she realize this fool was masochistic in the past? Chapter 2364. A dry faggot on a blazing fire. It's not that I don't want to tell you, it's that I can't tell you. Yuan Shao considered it for a moment before saying, You should know about my line of work. It's one thing if I don't finish the mission. If I reveal the employer's identity and information, that's too much. Even I wouldn't be able to look at myself. Yi Wanwan's lip twitched. Was Yuan Shao playing with her? Will you tell me or not? Yi Wanwan glared at him. I also want to tell you, but I really can't tell you. There is one thing though. With your intelligence and wisdom, you can think about it yourself and analyze it a little. Who would gain the most if Yunma, the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president, died? Yuan Shao asked quietly, staring at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan frowned lightly when she heard that. When Yi Lingjun announced her return in such a high-profile manner, and informed everyone that his daughter would start working at the Arbitration Council, he was basically treating and training her as the heir of the Arbitration Council. Forget about everything else. But the mere point of training her as the heir of the arbitration council would impact the interests of too many people. And the one who would lose the most would be Vice President Qin of the arbitration council. If she hadn't appeared, then the position of the arbitration council's president would undoubtedly go to Vice President Qin after Yi Lingjuan's term ended. However, everything changed following her appearance. So, you're insinuating it was Vice President Qin? Yuanwan asked Yuan Shao. Worryless Nya, I didn't say anything about Vice President Qin. Yuan Shao shook his head. Do you think Vice President Qin is stupid? Even if Vice President Qin had those intentions, he wouldn't be the one making a personal appearance. Forget about him. Not a single person from the Qin family would appear. If a plot came to light, no one would be able to follow the trail to the Qin family. They've never lacked a scapegoat. So what you're saying is, Vice President Qin found a scapegoat, and had the scapegoat meet with you and issued this mission. Whether this mission is accomplished or not, the Arbitration Council could merely track down the scapegoat no matter how much they investigated, and they wouldn't discover a single connection to Vice President Qin. Yuanwan said after a moment of thought. Haha, worryless, you said it all yourself. I didn't say anything. Moreover, I didn't name Vice President Qin. I merely followed your path of thought and made some speculations. You yourself said there's a scapegoat, so I only know who the scapegoat is at most. How could I know the mastermind? You're better off thinking about it yourself. Yuanwan hummed in thought. She was almost certain that the person who wanted her life was connected to the Qin family, and the scapegoat Yuan Shao mentioned might very well be Yin Heng. After saying that, Yuan Shao lit a cigarette and took a few puffs before turning to the contemplative Yuanwan. He clapped her on the shoulder and said, All right, it's a bunch of dry sticks on a blazing fire when a man and woman are alone. It's not good to stay in the same room together. I'll leave now or else your brother will fight with me for 3 days if he finds out. Contact me if you need anything else. Yuanwan's lips twitched. What freaking dry sticks on a blazing fire? He clearly wanted to kill her just a moment ago. Yuanwan had just said that when footsteps were heard from the door. Then the door was opened and Si Yihan appeared in sight with Lin Ke, who was staring at Yuan Shao and her in stupefaction behind him. Chapter 2365. Whoever has a partner is a dog. Yuanwan. What kind of sin did I commit? Why did Si Yihan come over at this exact moment? And no one notified me ahead of time? Oh right, she remembered now. She previously told the housekeeper that if the visitor was Si Yihan, a notification wasn't necessary, and they could allow him to enter directly. She seriously shot herself in the foot. Yuanwan stood up at the brink of a breakdown. Ajia, why are you here? She simply wanted to die. What kind of terrible luck did she have? Why did her baby run into this kind of scene every single time? This was simply heinous. When Si Yihan saw the man in the room, only surprise appeared on his face. He didn't say anything and coolly looked at Yuan Shao next to her. In the back, Lin Ke quietly mumbled. A man and a woman together in a room alone. What's going on? Yuanwan instantly bristled. A man and a woman together in a room alone, your ass. This guy is an assassin. He came here to kill me tonight. Lin Ke's expression was difficult to describe. Ninth sister, I think you can find a better excuse with slightly more intelligence. That's the truth, all right? Baby, you must believe me, right? Yuanwan pitifully turned to Si Yihan. I believe you, Si Yihan replied. Yuanwan relaxed. Lin Ke looked incredulous though, and even Yuan Shao appeared astonished. He believes that. Lin Ke couldn't help but say, Are you dumb, ninth brother? You'd even believe that? If this guy is an assassin, why isn't he killing her? Although Yuanwan really wanted to punch Lin Ke, she couldn't refute this in any manner. At this moment, Yuan Shao walked forward with a grin. As he surveyed Si Yihan imperceptibly, he languidly said, She actually isn't lying to you. I really am an assassin, but it's coincidental now that you mention it. After I accepted the mission and came here, I realized the target of my mission was my old lover. So of course I couldn't go through with it. Yuanwan, Si Yihan, Lin Ke was dumbstruck. Old lover? Yuanwan was nearly angered to death. Shut up. Are we close friends? It was clearly you who had one-sided impure motives toward me, alright? Yuan Shao shook his head with a sigh. Since ancient times, love has led to sad endings. They only hear a newcomer's laugh, but no one hears the old cry. Little worryless, you've disappointed me too much. How could you like someone like him? I can tell he's cold and boring and uninteresting with a look, and he can't party with you. What happened to the promise of roaming the world with me, huh? Yi Wanwan glared at him. Party your ass. I like to stay at home and not go anywhere. Yuan Shao looked accusatory. Fine, party my ass. But what about the promised? Us friends walk through life together and whoever has a partner is a dog. Yi Wanwan. Woof. Woof woof woof. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh light novel. Org, I'm willing to be a dog. What about it, huh? Yuan Shao. Fine, you win. Lin Ke was also stunned by Yi Wanwan's shamelessness. Si Yihan's gaze sharpened. What happened? This was Yi Lingjuan's territory, so how could there be an assassin? Baby, sit down, sit down. I'll carefully explain it to you. Yi Wanwan gently looked at Si Yihan before turning around and sending Yuan Shao a warning look. Yuan Zhao's face filled with grief and indignation, as though he was looking at a piece of scum. Worryless Nia, I didn't expect you to be the kind of person who puts their hoes before bros. I misjudged you before. Yi Wanwan glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. When haven't I? Fine. I can only blame myself for being young and unable to differentiate a person from a dog. Yuan Shao choked with anger and opened the window, disappearing with a leap. Chapter 2366. Come here to keep you company every day, damn it. Why was this bastard's line so freaking strange? He made it sound like she was a scummy jackass. Yi Wanwan reflexively looked outside the window. There was no trace of a person. She had to say though, Yuan Shao seriously came and went without a trace. Yi Lingjun had arranged many guards and scouts in the surroundings, but Yuan Shao still managed to saunter inside brazenly. Yi Wanwan originally wondered if Vice President Qin's people were mixed in with those guards and scouts, so they pretended they didn't see Yuan Shao when they saw him. However, on second thought, she found that pretty improbable. These people were all personally chosen by Yi Lingjun, so they couldn't possibly share any connections with Vice President Qin. After Yuan Shao left, Yi Wanwan immediately plastered herself to Si Yihan. Hee baby, I'm good, right? I plucked all the rotten peach blossoms myself. At that moment, all the coldness in Si Yihan's eyes had transformed into warmth and disapproval filled his gaze. Don't talk about yourself like that again. Yi Wanwan immediately replied. It's nothing. It's good as long as you're happy. Lin Ke feebly grumbled. I actually think she was telling the truth. It's you who has mistaken knowledge of ninth sister, right, ninth brother. Si Yihan aloofly glanced at Lin Ke and Lin Ke immediately sealed his mouth. Fine, your wife is the best. Your wife is the purest and most flawless person. Your wife is the kindest little angel in the world. After sitting down, Yi Wanwan started explaining to Si Yihan. Someone sent an assassin to assassinate me tonight, but that assassin picked up a call, and it was actually my brother calling. Then I discovered this assassin was someone I knew. He's my brother's best friend named Yuan Shao. Lin Ke was shocked. Someone sent an assassin to assassinate you? But you're Yunma right now. Who has the guts? Yi Wanwan replied. Well, Yuan Shao didn't tell me that. They have rules and can't reveal their clients' information. However, based on the information he provided, I can basically guess who it was. Qinzong. Si Yihan said a name point blank. However, he wouldn't appear personally, so the most probable person to do this for him would be Yin Heng. Admiration immediately filled Yi Wanwan's face. You're seriously too clever, baby. I didn't tell you anything yet, but you've guessed everything already. Seeing the worry on Si Yihan's face, Yi Wanwan quickly comforted him. Don't worry, baby, aren't I fine? In truth, Vice President Qin isn't a major problem since I still have Yi Lingjun holding the fort at least. Anyway, my identity is also fake, so I can find an appropriate opportunity to extract myself at any time and won't be in any danger. Her true worry was still Inuerong. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh light novel. Org after her previous attempt to expose her failed, Yin Yuerong hadn't acted. Yi Wanwan had a feeling that Yin Yuerong wouldn't leave the matter at that though. Si Yihan also knew Yi Wanwan was right, but he couldn't take any risks. Starting tonight, I will come here to keep you company, Si Yihan announced. Yi Wanwan was startled briefly before her eyes started glowing, and she bobbed her head eagerly. Really? Sure. She never expected to have gained something from a misfortune. However, if Si Yihan came here to keep her company, she must make things clear with the housekeeper and couldn't allow a second Su Yang. Don't worry about Third Elder. They've released him, Si Yihan said. That's good. It appeared Yin Yuerong had released Third Elder since Third Elder had lost all value, combined with pressure from Si Yihan. Chapter 2367. Especially thick thigh. Oh right, have your meetings gone smoothly recently? Yi Wanwan asked. Si Yihan replied. With President Yi's support, they've been fairly smooth now. Moreover, Yi Wanwan had been showcasing high-profile public displays of affection as Yi Yunma on her end, winning a lot of support for Si Yihan. Yi Wanwan hummed. From what I know, even with Yi Lingjuan's support, such a large reformation won't be passed so easily, right? I remember the Arbitration Council has a rule that the amendment of major bills requires the unanimous approval of every member. Yes, Si Yihan replied. Yi Wanwan. So even if they won over everyone, how would they overcome the barrier of Yin Yuerong? Based on Yin Yuerong's personality, she absolutely wouldn't approve the passing of the proposed law, right? Yi Wanwan felt more convicted of this after learning about Yin Yuerong's history with Si Huaizhang. Back then, Si Huaizhang eloped with a woman outside of the independent state, so how could Yin Yuerong agree to lift the restrictions on marriage? Don't worry. A dark glint flitted across Si Yihan's eyes. Everyone has their weakness, and she's no exception. However, until it reached that point, he didn't want to employ that method. After all, he managed to crawl out of the mud pit with great difficulty. He didn't want to become someone just like her. As they spoke, Yi Wanwan's phone started ringing. It was Nameless Nye calling. Yi Wanwan answered the call immediately. Hey brother? Worryless, where's that guy Yuan Xiao? Did he leave? Nameless Nye inquired immediately. Yi Wanwan nodded. He left already. Be careful when you're alone at home. Nameless Nye reminded her. Yi Wanwan grinned. It's fine Ajio's here. Upon hearing that, Nameless Nye released a sigh of relief. Oh, brother-in-law is there. That's good. I feel at ease then. He seriously felt reassured by Si Yihan. After a moment of silence, Nameless Nye lowered his voice and said, Worryless, brother knows you and brother-in-law have given a lot of care to the bill, and also knows how difficult this matter is. You don't need to force yourself. If it was an easy matter, the dispute wouldn't have persisted until now. If worse comes to worst, I'll take Ling Miao and leave the independent state. Nameless Nye had changed greatly. All the ruthlessness around him had dissipated. The moment he resisted against the whole world, and she stood on his side without any second thought, he felt redeemed. Moreover, Ling Miao didn't die and gave him hope again, finally untying the knot in his heart. Yi Wanwan gently said, Brother, things haven't reached that point yet, so we have a lot of hope. I latched onto an especially thick thigh, and no wait, strictly speaking, it was that thigh who insisted on following me and making me latch onto it. Nameless Nye was baffled. Especially thick thigh? Who? My dad. Yi Lingjun, Nameless Nye. Nameless Nye hastily pressed. Oh right, I haven't asked you yet. How did you sneak into the Yi clan? When did Yi Lingjun go blind? How could he not recognize his own daughter? Yi Wanwan replied. What if I said it was Yi Lingjun who forced me to be his daughter? Nameless Nye increased his volume and shouted. Brother-in-law, are you there? I think you need to be concerned about my sister's psychological state. Yi Wanwan pulled the phone farther from Si Yihan. Shoo. My psychological state is perfectly fine. Yi Wanwan irritatedly explained the situation to Nameless Nye and reassured him. This way he could help cover for her, or else their parents would definitely explode if they found out she secretly came to Tianshui City in search of Si Yihan. The next morning, the sky brightened and soon, it was time for another day of meetings. Si Yihan had never arrived late to a single meeting, but at this moment, as he watched the girl in his arms snuggling close to him like a kitten, he had no desire to shift a centimeter. Until knocking was heard on the door, and a housekeeper entered with a trap in hand. "Eldest miss," before the housekeeper could finish speaking, her gaze landed on the bed and discovered a man in their eldest miss's bed. Asterisk crash. Asterisk in her shock, the housekeeper shattered the tray she was holding. "Housekeeper Wu? What is it?" Lingjuan's nervous voice trailed from behind. Lingjun hastily sprinted inside, his gaze locked on the two people on the bed, his mind dumbstruck. Chapter 2368. Did you think I was vegetarian? President. After a moment of feeling flabbergasted, the housekeeper recognized the man in the bed and became more stunned. Wasn't this Director C? Wasn't eldest miss too astounding? She originally thought eldest miss was merely expressing affection for Director C, but it had only been a few days yet eldest miss had already drawn him to her bed. Moreover, didn't Director C have a fiancé? So noisy. Seeing Yi Wanwan awoken by the noise, Si Yihan frowned and comfortingly patted her on the head. "It's nothing, keep sleeping." Amen. The gentle voice lured Yi Wanwan back to dreamland. Si Yihan rose with extremely gentle motions before looking at Lingjun and requesting him to move elsewhere to talk. "President, if you please." Lingjun looked at Yi Wanwan's careless behavior and angrily glared at her before dismissing the housekeeper and walking to the living room with Si Yihan. Si Yihan and Lingjun were the only people in the living room. "Director C, shouldn't you give me an explanation for today?" Lingjuan's expression was menacing. "It's my fault." Si Yihan didn't attempt to defend himself and admitted his error directly. This attitude made Lingjun unable to unleash even a tinge of his wrath. "I would like to hear where your fault lies," Lingjun sternly demanded. Resembling a father-in-law testing his son-in-law, his position stauncher than Yi Wanwan's real dad, Nya Huili. Si Yihan replied, "I should have considered the impact on Wanwan." Lingjun harumphed. "You still remember the impacts? Even if you're in a relationship with my girl, you still haven't married yet. What proper behavior is it to spend the night together?" "You're extremely right, President," Si Yihan agreed. Anyhow, Si Yihan seriously listened to everything Lingjun said, and neither justified himself nor answered back. He even admitted his wrong of his own volition, and with a few words he managed to dissolve over half of Lingjuan's anger. Lingjun nodded in satisfaction. "As long as you're aware. You're fine, but you still have to pay attention to a girl's reputation." As Lingjun carried out his duty as a father and seriously lectured his future son-in-law, footsteps were heard from upstairs. "Baby." The sight of Yi Wanwan hazily pattering downstairs was spotted promptly after. Although Yi Wanwan couldn't even open her eyes, she still accurately sensed Si Yihan's location and walked toward him. Si Yihan's voice softened instantly. "You're awake." After Yi Wanwan stopped behind the sofa, Si Yihan turned his head, and Yi Wanwan naturally bent down and smacked a kiss on his cheeks before complaining. "You promised you would sleep with me. How could you run off halfway?" This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh light novel. Or yes. She completely ignored the second person sitting on the sofa across from Si Yihan. Si Yihan said, Wanwan, we aren't married yet, after all, so it'd be more appropriate if we slept in separate rooms." Disbelief filled Yi Wanwan's face instantly. "What did you say? Sleep in separate rooms? You've known me for so long. Did you think I was vegetarian?" Si Yihan, Lingjun. Lingjun was righteously lecturing his son-in-law seconds ago, but his face turned pure black when he heard his daughter. Si Yihan exasperatedly pushed away the girl plastered to him, before pulling her down to sit next to him. "President Yi's here." Only then did Yi Wanwan turn to the spot across from them. "Dad, why are you here?" Lingjun. "Haha, you finally discovered you still had a dad here." Chapter 2369. Have to hug the thigh to the max upon seeing Lingjuan's attitude and expression. Yi Wanwan immediately walked up with a smile and latched onto Lingjuan's arm. "Dad, I heard you've helped Audio a lot with amending and re-evaluating the rules." Lingjun pursed his lips. And not bad. You know about that. Of course. Audio's immensely grateful for all of your help, and he tells me about it all day long. He said we must fulfill our filial duties well toward you in the future. Yi Wanwan was grinning. Yi Lingjun peered at Si Yihan from the corner of his eyes. This lad has a rather decent conscience. After receiving a reminder gaze from his wife, Si Yihan didn't respond and chose to agree tacitly. President, there's still a matter I need to report to you, Si Yihan said. Yi Lingjun saw Si Yihan's serious expression, and also looked at him solemnly. What is it? Si Yihan briefly explained last night's incident to Yi Lingjun, who fell into contemplation afterward. Yi Lingjun had known that someone wanted to assassinate Yi Wanwan several days ago, so he gave her a treasure that would suffice as self-protection. He didn't expect Yi Wanwan to actually know her assassin, and managed to weasel some information out of him. According to Si Yihan's conjecture, the mastermind was Vice President Qin, while the one who made the request was the Yin family's adopted son, Yin Hung. If they used common sense to make this speculation, it appeared to be the case. However, what the Arbitration Council needed wasn't speculation. They needed evidence. Forget about the fact that everything was speculation. Even if they had an assassin testifying personally, it wouldn't be realistic to knock down the vice president of the Arbitration Council. And this evidence had to be solid, actual evidence. The Arbitration Council absolutely wouldn't convict a person solely based on an assassin's one-sided testimony. There's no need for you to continue investigating and focus on the true mastermind, Yi Lingjun said to Yi Wanwan and Si Yihan a moment later. Yi Wanwan was startled, incomprehension written all over her face. Dad, how could we not investigate or focus on this matter? The one they want to assassinate is your precious daughter, the president of the Arbitration Council's precious daughter. They aren't targeting Iyunma. They're targeting you. How can you tolerate this? How could she relinquish her hold on her thick thigh? Yi Wanwan was determined to hug the thigh to the max. Yi Lingjun glanced at Yi Wanwan. How could he not understand this girl's thoughts? Do you think everyone else is as foolish as you? Since someone dared to hire an assassin to assassinate my daughter, regardless of whether they succeeded or not, they wouldn't fear an investigation from the Arbitration Council and must have thought of a foolproof plan. If it's really as you two think and it's Vice President Qin pulling the strings from behind, then there's even less reason to waste our time. Qin Zong won't permit you to discover anything. Forget about you two, but even I might not find anything. Si Yihan didn't say anything and pondered for a moment. In truth, Yi Lingjun's words were very correct. The only opening in this matter was that assassin. However, even if the assassin was willing to violate his principles and step forward to testify against Vice President Qin and Yin Hung, where was the evidence? Who could guarantee it wasn't Yi Lingjun intentionally hiring an assassin to wrongly accuse Vice President Qin, to pave the road for his daughter, Iyunma, and eradicate this barrier that prevented Iyunma from advancing to the position of the Arbitration Council's president? Pull one hair, and the whole body moves. Unless they had absolute evidence, they would only be handing their leverage to the other person for them to bite back. Chapter 2370. Dad, this daughter was wrong. Dad, if it's as you say, oh, so there was an assassination attempt on me for nothing? Isn't being the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president too tragic? Anyone who wants to kill me can take a stab at it, and we can't convict them. What kind of justice is this? Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. Yi Lingjun grimly considered it for a moment, and actually nodded a second later. From the current looks of it, it appears that way. Yi Wanwan. She didn't want to be his daughter anymore. Yi Wanwan jubilantly suggested. President Yi, how about we pick a lucky day and break off our relationship as father and daughter? Yi Lingjun's expression darkened instantly. Damn girl, I dare you to repeat that again? I will. I'm telling the truth anyway. Si Yihan exasperatedly reached out and patted the girl on the head. Wanwan, don't act so impolitely towards the president. Upon sensing the warmth on her head, Yi Wanwan immediately behaved docilely like a rabbit. Dad, this daughter was wrong. Yi Lingjun, haha. Sir President, since it's like this, we can investigate things on the side. Si Yihan proceeded to talk business. Yi Lingjun glared at Yi Wanwan before saying, that's feasible. If it's truly Vice President Qin controlling everything from behind the scenes, there must be two reasons why he wants to eliminate the president's daughter in such haste. First, Yi Yunma impeded his advancement to becoming the president. Second, Vice President Qin probably conducted shady dealings these past few years, and Yi Yunma would adhere to the custom of completely investigating the Arbitration Council after becoming the president, and there's a great probability that Vice President Qin's shady dealings would be discovered. Si Yihan provided his analysis. You're right. From what I know, Qin Zong has been involved in some dirty affairs. I didn't pay much heed before, but now, I will thoroughly investigate it. Yi Lingjun smiled faintly. Several days later, at the Yin estate, Yin Heng's expression was foreboding. He never expected Lord Yuan's assassination to end up in failure. Furthermore, Lord Yuan returned his down payment and gave up on this mission. Considering Fengsha and Lord Yuan's strength, forget about assassinating merely Yi Yunma. But he should have succeeded even if his missions was to assassinate any higher-up of the Arbitration Council aside from Yi Lingjun. So why did he fail this time? Yin Heng didn't have time to delve into that train of thought deeply. The failure of this assassination attempt was a rather large risk for him. Although the Arbitration Council didn't possess any evidence, this matter was laid out on the table, and the president's mind must be as clear as a mirror that Vice President Qin was certainly connected to this incident. However, Vice President Qin wouldn't seek out an assassin himself while he, a member of the Yin family, would be the most appropriate person to complete the task. Zhong, was what you said before true? Do Yi Yunma and Worryless Nye really look identical? Yin Heng questioned the man next to him. That's right. There aren't any mistakes. Madam has always held her suspicions, but she merely didn't succeed in her tests. I really can't figure out how such a coincidental matter could happen in the world, for two people to look identical who aren't twins. Zhong quietly replied. Then is it possible that Yi Yunma and Worryless Nye are real sisters? Or perhaps Worryless Nye once had some secret relationship with President Yi? Yin Heng said with a frown. Young master, that's impossible, right? Even if Worryless Nye's mother betrayed her father and had an affair with the president, Worryless Nye and Yi Yunma would share a mother at most and wouldn't come from the same father. So how could they look identical? Zhong answered. Chapter 2371. Indeed had a child together. Yin Heng pondered over it for a moment before asking, when will Madam return? Madam was sent on a business trip by the president this time, and it will probably take at least a week, Zhong answered. The corners of Yin Heng's mouth turned up. Good. When Mother returns, I will give Mother a big present. I will investigate what Mother wasn't able to find out myself. If Yin Heng discovered that Yi Yunma was being impersonated, then the person he wanted to assassinate wasn't the president's daughter. This way, if the assassination was attributed to him, Yi Lingjun wouldn't do anything to him, and the risk to him would be removed. Moreover, if that woman really was an imposter, he could say he was eliminating a spy. Not only would he not be in the wrong, but he would have also performed a meritorious deed. Young master, I'm afraid that won't be easy. Zhong mulled over it momentarily. That woman isn't simple. Young master, think about it. Even Madam couldn't do anything to her with her techniques. Last time, the third elder of the Fearless Alliance was following Madam and was captured, so Madam used him to test that woman, but the test didn't reveal anything. Even if that woman is being impersonated by Worryless Nye, she's a marble-hearted woman and has barely any flaws. A member of the Fearless Alliance. Yin Heng turned contemplative. Minutes later, the corners of Yin Heng's lips turned up and he snorted. Oh right, I heard Worryless Nye and Si Yihan have a little bastard together? They indeed have a child together. He's probably 4 or 5 years old. He's currently with Yun City's Nye family. Zhong nodded. Great. Yin Heng nonchalantly continued with a smile. Worryless Nye doesn't care about the fate of an elder from the Fearless Alliance, but what about her biological son? I believe she wouldn't sit by and do nothing then, right? Young master, please prudently reconsider this. Sweat soaked Zhong's forehead. It would be fine if that Yunma was truly being impersonated by worryless Nia. But if she isn't being impersonated and is really the president's daughter? If Yunma truly isn't related to worryless Nia in any manner, and I capture worryless Nia's son, it'd be none of Yunma's business. Don't tell me Yunma will make trouble for me simply because of a child she doesn't know. Inhung looked dismissive. That's true, but Yunma isn't the person I'm worried about, young master. You have to understand one point. Worryless Nia's son is also Si Yihan's son. You should know what kind of person Si Yihan is. If you abduct Si Yihan's son, I'm afraid your situation, young master. Ajong was hesitant. At the mention of the old methods of the eldest young master who left the Yin family, Ajong felt a chill settle in his spine. A chilling glint sparkled in Yin Heng's eyes, and he coldly said, "What? If Si Yihan's son ends up in my hands, do you think he'd still dare to act rashly? Anyway, Madam will return soon. So what's wrong with me bringing Madam's grandson here so that the child can spend some time with his grandmother? Is that a problem?" Brilliant, young master, truly brilliant. If you put it like that, then there isn't the slightest problem. Ajong gave him a thumbs up. Send several reliable people over there. I heard the child has been clever since he was young and possesses extremely high intelligence and vigilance. He isn't easy to fool, In Hen ordered. Ajong disdainfully said, regardless of how clever he is, he's just a tiny child. In Heng's face darkened. Don't lower your guard. This matter absolutely doesn't allow for any mishaps. Ajong replied, yes, this subordinate will make thorough preparations. Chapter 2372. How did you guess? In Heng ordered. That little bastard must have Si Yihan's people protecting him nearby. Mobilize the iron guards in my name. Otherwise, it would probably be very difficult to take him away. Ajong was secretly shocked. Mobilize the iron guards. Would that be too brazen? What if Madam finds out? In Heng's expression darkened, and he shot his confidant a cold glance. Mother handed the iron guards to me, so they're naturally my people and listen to my commands. Is there a problem with that? Although Ajong still held on to his worries, he could do nothing but obey In Heng's orders in the end. On the surface, In Yuerong had handed the iron guards to In Heng, which was essentially the same as acknowledging In Heng's status as her heir. However, there were still many people in the In family standing on Si Yihan's side. It would be fine if Si Yihan didn't return. However, the moment Si Yihan returned, the will of the people wouldn't be with In Heng even if In Heng possessed the iron guards. Originally, In Heng still had a fighting chance after obtaining Qin Shiyuan's support. Who would have expected Yunma to pop up out of nowhere and take a fancy to Si Yihan? Hence, the members of the In family were currently observing the circumstances and didn't dare to disclose their positions. In this kind of situation, it was no wonder In Heng felt anxious. In Yun City, in the evening after school let out, several Nia family guards escorted Tang Tang home like usual. As the car drove smoothly and reached a slope, the wheels suddenly shook and the brakes were slammed urgently. Their car was stopped. Young master, be careful. Guards immediately guarded Tang Tang behind them, afraid he would be frightened. Tang Tang expressionlessly turned to the group of men in black, a thoughtful expression revealed on his fair face. Who dares to try to abduct our young master Nia? Do you want to die? A Nia family guard shouted coldly. The leading man icily demanded, hand over Nia Tangxiao, and we can spare your lives. Who are you? You simply want to die. Midway through the guard's words, Tang Ting glanced at the men and expressionlessly said, you're from Tianshui City. He was clearly just a young child, but his eyes contained a depth that didn't match his age. Moreover, he didn't bear a trace of panic. When the leader heard this, he was startled. How did this child guess? Are you from the In family? Tang Tang continued. In family from Tianshui City? What? From the In family? The expressions of several of the Nia family guards changed. How did you know? The leader wore a strange expression. If it was a guard who said that, he could understand, but this was a child. The men looked at each other, bewildered. People said the little young master of the Nia family was very intelligent, and he indeed appeared so. Tang Tang revealed a childish smile. I was guessing. I didn't expect to have guessed right. Guessed? The leader was suspicious but didn't think deeper when he met the eyes of the young child. In Hung issued an absolute order for this mission. Even if it was a life and death struggle, they still must take the child with them. They were still in Yun City, the Nye family's territory after all. So to avoid alarming too many people, they had to make it a quick fight. If these people resisted, then everyone had to die. They couldn't delay any longer. The leader was about to order his men to kill everyone without mercy when his deputy suddenly walked toward Tang Tang and affably said, "Heh, little young master, it's like this. Your grandmother would like to see you, so can we please trouble you to come with us?" Chapter 2373. He's too easy to deceive, right? Tang Tang looked up and tilted his head slightly, his fair face in full view. When he heard the mention of his grandmother, he appeared to have lowered his guard and appeared naive and innocent. "Grandmother wants to see me?" The deputy quickly said, that's right. As you said, we're from Tianshui City's Yin family, so we were naturally sent by your grandmother. Your grandmother wants us to pick you up." Upon seeing the deputy bewitching their young master, a nearby guard hastily said, "Young master, you mustn't listen to these people's coercing words. People from Tianshui City are extremely dangerous, and you absolutely can't leave with them." A murderous aura flashed through the deputy's eyes. When Tang Tang heard this, he didn't show any care, and waved his little hand. "They're grandmother's people. I want to go with them to see grandmother." Those words produced a similar effect to saying, "I know they're the big bad wolf, but I want to go home with them." The leader and deputy were both startled. It was just a careless remark. But this child agreed? He was too easy to deceive, right? Before coming here, Master clearly plied them with instructions on how difficult this child was, but it appeared they truly overestimated him. He was dumb no matter how you looked at it. As the little young master of the Nye family, how could he lack all traces of vigilance? "Little young master, you can't. You absolutely can't." A guard anxiously protested. "Let us inform your uncle first." As long as nameless Nye came, forget about the Yin family, but even Yin Yuerong herself wouldn't be able to take little young master away. "No need to find my uncle. I also want to go see grandmother. You're all done now, so leave everyone." Tang Tang ordered and also sent a warning glance at a hidden spot. The Nye family guards were dumbfounded. How could they allow this? Tang Tang glanced at the Nye family guards, his expression displeased. "What? I can't order you now?" He knew Daddy had sent some people over to protect him in hiding. However, this time, the other party evidently came prepared. If he wasn't mistaken, these were all the sharpest members of the Yin family's secret guards, the Iron Guards. All of them were experts and carried goo poison. If he didn't go with them, even if he managed to safely escape by luck, the people protecting him today would all die without a doubt. Most importantly, this way, not only would Daddy and Mommy seek unending vengeance against the Yin family, but Yun City and Tianshui City would also erupt into a major battle. Uncle was still looking after aunt-in-law in the hospital. Even if Uncle found out, he wouldn't be able to rush over in a short period of time, so leaving with them was Tong Tong's best option right now. Moreover, he was well aware that these people wouldn't dare to do anything to him regardless of which member of the Yin family sent them. "Didn't you hear? Little young master wants to go and see his grandmother. It was nothing to do with you all." "Scram!" the deputy yelled fiercely. "No. Absolutely no. You can't take little young master away. Even if it's as you said, you have to wait until young master nameless from the Nye family arrives first. You can only take little young master away if young master agrees." A Nye family guard persistently insisted. In the end, the group of Nye family guards was knocked to the ground. The power differential was too great. They were no match for the Yin family at all. In the dark, the people who Si Yihan sent to protect Tang Tang fell into a dilemma. What should we do? Should we attack? Yeah, if we don't attack, young master will be taken away. Chapter 2374. A Dragon's Wrath. The leader of that group spoke, his expression unchanged. Master instructed us to obey young master's orders completely. Young master issued an order just now and prohibited us from attacking. That's too foolish. What if young master is in danger? We won't be able to pay for that even if we had 10 heads. Plus, boss, he might be young master, but he's still a child. How could you listen to him completely? The leader coldly glanced at his men. Insolence. Regardless of how old he is, he's still young master. Moreover, don't underestimate young master. Then the leader ordered, everyone don't attack. Secretly follow and protect him. In the end, the guards who were knocked down could only watch helplessly as the people from the Yin family took Tang Tang away. Soon, one of the guards rapidly dialed Nameless Nie's number. When Nameless Nie learned Tang Tang was taken away, he immediately left the hospital and rushed to the guard's location. However, by the time Nameless Nie arrived, the people from the Yin family had long disappeared. At Tianshui City, Yu Wanwan was currently speaking with Medusa in the mansion. Medusa was discussing the latest situation with Yu Wanwan. Wow, I seriously admit defeat to that woman Yin Yuerong. What kind of grievances and enmities does she have? I heard she's been traveling everywhere recently and mobilizing all the power she can. From the looks of it, she absolutely won't allow the bill to pass. Yu Wanwan rubbed her chin. Is there really no method to persuade her? Medusa looked at her in shock. Persuade Yin Yuerong? Are you kidding me? Women like her absolutely won't change their minds about something they've decided on regardless of the factors. Yu Wanwan's expression was exasperated. That's true. At that moment, Yu Wanwan's phone started ringing abruptly. It was Nameless Nie calling. Hey Worryless. What is it, brother? Yu Wanwan asked. Worryless, where are you? Nameless Nie sounded extraordinarily anxious. I'm still in Tianshui City. Did something happen? Yu Wanwan frowned. When Tang Tang was released from school, he was stopped by people from the Yin family and was taken away by them, Nameless Nie replied. What did you say? Yu Wanwan's expression changed drastically. Tang Tang was abducted. Astonishment also appeared on Medusa's face. The guards responsible for protecting Tang Tang said it was Tang Tang's grandmother who wanted to see Tang Tang, Nameless Nie explained. Brother Yi, are you certain it was the Yin family? Yu Wanwan asked hastily. I'm certain. I already looked into it just now, and it was the Yin family without a doubt. However, it couldn't have been Yin Yuerong who wants to see Tang Tang. The next few days are key for revising the bill, and Yin Yuerong went on a business trip to retrieve an important document 2 days ago. She's been utterly exhausted from overwork recently, so there's no way she'd touch Tang Tang at a time like this. Yu Wanwan analyzed. If it wasn't Yin Yuerong, who else could it be? I investigated it, and discovered the abductors were members of the Yin family's Iron Guards. They're Yin Yuerong's direct secret guards. Nameless Nie was befuddled. A chilly glint flitted through Yu Wanwan's eyes. I have a general idea of who's responsible. Brother, seal off the news for now. I'll take care of Tang Tang. But, don't worry. I won't allow anything to happen to Tang Tang. Yu Wanwan steadied her voice. Not long after Yu Wanwan hung up, she received a text on her phone. The sender was an unfamiliar number, and it contained an invite for her to visit the Yin family. Soon a second message came. It was Tang Tang's photo. Yin Heng, you're dead. Yu Wanwan's eyes glinted icily as she stared at Tang Tang's photo. No one could use her baby to threaten her. A dragon had wrath, which could be incurred at a touch. Chapter 2375. No need for the trouble. The phone was slapped onto the table with a bang, the screen shattering into a web. Because she held the identity of both Worryless Nie and Yunma. There were 2 SIM cards installed on her phone, and Yin Heng's 2 messages were sent to Yunma's number. Medusa also discovered this, and her expression turned serious. Yin Heng is suspicious of your identity. He intentionally sent these 2 text messages to Yunma. If Yunma was Lingjuan's daughter, the text he sent would be fine. The first text was an invitation for her to visit the Yin estate, while the second text was Tang Tang's photo. He could say he sent it as a mistake, but he could also be informing Yunma about the existence of Si Yihan's illegitimate child. He could explain it any way he wanted. However, if Yi Yunma was Yi Wanwan, Yi Wanwan would naturally understand the meaning of this second text, and his objective would be achieved. Medusa cursed quietly. I didn't expect Yin Hung to use such a crafty move, and to even threaten you with a child. Little junior sister, you mustn't take the bait. Otherwise, as soon as you seek him out, it'd be the same as telling him you're worryless Nya, and you would fall into his trick. Yi Wanwan remained silent the entire time. She naturally knew that. Medusa continued, Little junior sister, I'll go to the arbitration council building to find master right now. Wait for news from me before doing anything. Yi Wanwan calmly stood up and glanced at Medusa. Senior sister, no need for the trouble. Then what are you preparing to do? What will I do? The storm and iciness in Yi Wanwan's eyes enveloped her surroundings. Doesn't he want to expose my true identity? I'll do as he wishes. Yi Wanwan walked out. Half a minute later, the sound of a sports car's ignition was heard, quickly followed by the sight of Yi Wanwan darting through the mansion gates in her sports car, and speeding toward the arbitration council building. Medusa couldn't catch up to Yi Wanwan, and could only spin in circles in her panic as she watched her little junior sister speeding away. She hastily ran to the garage to grab her own car. Shit. I better hurry and chase after her. At the same time, in the Yin estate, a banquet was currently being held in the Yin estate. Today, Yin estate had specifically invited Qin Zong, Qin Shiyuan, and many higher-ups and managers from the arbitration council. Now that he'd basically taken over the Yin family, Yin Hung thought he should naturally hold a banquet and invite these higher-ups as the future head of the family. Everyone, please make yourselves at home. The president will arrive shortly. Yin Hung politely greeted the higher-ups with a toast, acting as a family head would. Mr. Yin is truly young and promising. That's right. No wonder you made Miss Qin fall for you. Amongst the higher-ups present, many of them supported and thought highly of Yin Hung. To them, Si Yihan's abilities and status might be much higher than Yin Hung, but he was truly too difficult to predict and he acted too tactlessly. For the second miss of the Nya family, he not only played guarantor for her using his position of director, but he also wanted to marry her. Even if he obtained the president's favor right now and was well regarded, he would still probably fall behind Yin Hung in the future. After all, Yin Hung not only had the support of the Yin family behind him, but also had immense assistance in the form of Miss Qin. What a pity! If Si Yihan was smarter and chose Miss Yi, this situation could have been greatly different. Yin Hung already informed Qin Shiyuan of his plan, so Qin Shiyuan was rather impatient right now, and kept shooting glances toward the entrance. If worryless Nya, that little bitch, was really this suicidal, that would be splendid. You're too polite, everyone. It's all thanks to the care of every senior here. Yin hung down the wine in his glass before imperceptibly glancing at the time on his phone. Chapter 2376. Hand over the person. Yi Yunma definitely saw the message already. If she was truly being impersonated by worryless Nya, then she would have arrived by now. The purpose of the banquet tonight was not only to socialize with the higher-ups of the arbitration council, but to also set up a foolproof trap for worryless Nya. At the table, drinks were exchanged and conversation flowed. At this moment, a loud commotion was heard from the entrance. Missy, do you need something? Missy, there's a banquet inside right now. Allow me to announce your presence first. Missy, scram. A girl in a tight, red dress with a tang backsword sitting on her waist was marching toward the dining hall like a blazing inferno. Immediately, everyone in the dining hall reflexively turned to the entrance. Isn't that Missy? Why did Missy also come? Everyone knew Yi Yunma never attended this kind of function, so they were all surprised by her appearance. When Yin Hung saw the newcomer, he was startled for a moment before mad joy rushed into his heart. Yi Yunma came. She really came. Although Yin Hung was ecstatic, his expression remained calm and collected. He nonchalantly stood up and courteously greeted the girl. What a rare guest, what a rare guest. I knew Miss E preferred the quiet, so I didn't invite Miss E. May I ask why Miss E is gracing us with your presence this late in the day? Yin Hung especially emphasized that he didn't invite her, and she came of her own volition. When Yi Wanwan didn't say anything, In Hung purposely asked again, "Why did you come here today, Miss E?" Yi Wanwan still remained silent and strode forward, stopping in front of In Hung. "Miss." In Hung had just uttered one word when a loud bang rang in the room a second later, and In Hung was sent flying back with a smack from Yi Wanwan. The chair behind In Hung shattered from the impact, and In Hung slammed into a giant flower vase the height of an adult before crashing into the wall like a snipped kite. Cough, 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 cough. In Hung had yet to recover and was using an arm to raise himself up a little when another bang was heard. Yi Wanwan stepped on his chest with her foot, the horrifying sound of bones shattering ringing in everyone's ears. Pew! In Hung couldn't endure it anymore and twisted his head, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. This abrupt scene left everyone stupefied. Dead silence enveloped the room, and everyone was frozen in their spots, unable to react from the enormous shock. Yi Wanwan was akin to a Rakshasa, who brought hell to the mortal realm. The dining hall was joyous and harmonious mere moments ago, but had now turned into purgatory with a murderous intent flooding the hall. The girl kept her foot on In Hang's chest as she leaned closer, enunciating each word carefully as she asked, "Hey, you don't know why I came here? Do you know now? You. In Hung started but spat out another mouthful of blood. He calculated every possibility, but never expected Yi Wanwan to attack him so publicly and so ruthlessly. Also, what was the deal with this woman's martial strength? From the information she obtained, Worryless Nye might have been very strong maritally, but definitely wasn't so strong that he had no room for retaliation. There was a second when he nearly thought she was going to kill him. Yi Wanwan's expression didn't contain a trace of warmth. "I will give you 3 seconds. Hand him over." Chapter 2377. I'm your great-aunt Worryless Nye. In Hung quickly calmed himself down and confidently stared at the girl before him. He mockingly ridiculed, "Missy, I did capture someone, but the person I captured is the son of Worryless Nye and my eldest brother, Nye Tangxiao. However, what does this have to do with you? If someone were to panic, it should be Worryless Nye. You merely look similar to Worryless Nye. You aren't that child's mother, so why are you this anxious? Don't tell me you really are Worryless Nye?" In Hung pressed, "Missy Yunma, could it be you've been Worryless Nye all along? You've impersonated the president's daughter." Worryless Nye was still too inexperienced. He originally thought she'd be tricky to handle and would contend with him in some manner. He didn't expect that the mere act of kidnapping Nye Tangxiao would be enough to rattle her and make her reveal herself. How could the dumbfounded crowd still remain clueless about the circumstances? Worryless Nye impersonated President Yi's daughter, Yunma, and In Hung abducted Worryless Nye's son, causing Worryless Nye to reveal her own identity in her panic. Qin Shiyuan clutched her mouth exaggeratedly, showing an expression of disbelief. "Oh my God! Is it true? Worryless Nye actually impersonated the president's daughter, Missy Yunmo?" Following Qin Shiyuan's exclamation, other people started reacting. "I was wondering why 2 completely different people could look so similar. She actually dared to impersonate even the president's daughter. Isn't she too gutsy? Does this woman want to die? Does she know what she's doing?" Qin Shiyuan glanced at Yi Wanwan and murmured with feigned suspicion, "But what's her objective for doing this?" Someone immediately replied, "A spy. She must be a spy sent by an evil cult. This woman had dubious connections with the Rose of Death previously. Now she infiltrated the Arbitration Council. She must have ulterior motives." Qin Shiyuan nodded as though a realization dawned on her. "That's true. Why else would she impersonate the president's daughter and sneak her way in here? She must have ulterior motives. Thank goodness In Hung discovered her in time, or else the consequences would have been simply unimaginable." As In Hung listened to the accusations of the higher-ups around him, he revealed a satisfied smile. Finally, everything would end. The matter of Worryless Nye impersonating the president's daughter was exposed, and the danger would be eliminated. Worryless Nye was done for. At the same time, Si Yihan, who had acted as a guarantor for her, was also done for. By abducting a little bastard, Yin Heng eradicated all of his obstacles in one go and also accomplished a meritorious deed. Yin Heng brazenly looked at Yuanwan. How about it, Missy? Am I correct? Oh, perhaps I should address you as Miss Worryless Nya now. Hey, you're wrong. Yuanwan chuckled lowly, her chuckle inexplicably sending shivers down listeners' backs. Yuanwan paused for a moment before enunciating her next words carefully. I am your great aunt, Worryless Nya. You, Yin Heng's expression darkened, and he promptly exclaimed frantically. You admitted it. You finally admit you impersonated Yunma. You impersonated President Yi's daughter. Worryless Nya, you're seriously too gutsy. You impersonated the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president, and attempted to spy on confidential information, and entangle yourself with an evil cult. Every single one of your deeds is punishable by death. Yuanwan impatiently picked at her ears before putting force to her foot, and completely breaking one of his ribs. You have 3 seconds to release my baby. Otherwise you'll see whether you or I die first. Chapter 2378. Her whole family includes me, HHH. A wretched scream escaped from Yin Heng from the intense pain. On the side, Vice President Qinzong wore a pitying expression and advised in a heartfelt manner. Miss Worryless Nya, don't hurt nephew Yin. I implore you to surrender peacefully. Yuanwan ignored Qinzong and started counting. 3. Upon seeing this woman completely ignore him, the vice president, Qinzong's expression looked terrible. You absolutely can't escape from your crimes now, but if you relent, perhaps you can strive for your family's survival still. 2. Yuanwan yelled. Yin Heng sensed the terrifying murderous aura from the woman before him, and sweat drenched his forehead. This woman had gone mad. She really dared to kill him. Yin Heng suddenly discovered he was positioned on extremely dangerous forbidden ground. There was a great possibility Qinzong wouldn't care about his survival. Yin Heng hastily said, Worryless Nya, think carefully. If I die, your son also won't survive. The second Yin Heng said that, Yuanwan didn't shout one, and directly stomped on him again. Kachak. The sound of another rib shattering. At this moment, a furious roar abruptly erupted from the entrance. Yin, stop. This low voice sent the whole room into a grim silence, and every pair of eyes simultaneously shot toward the entrance. Yilingjun arrived in a flurry. Yunma, what are you doing? Yin Heng released a sigh of relief when he saw Yilingjun, as though he'd seen his savior. President, save me. This vixen impersonated your daughter. Qinzong walked toward Yilingjun before explaining. President, calm down. This woman isn't your daughter, Yunma. She's actually the second daughter of Yin City's Nya family, Worryless Nya. Qin Shiyuan piped in. That's right, President. This woman admitted it herself just now. I think it's not only her. Her entire Nya family should be interrogated. It's very possible her whole family is related to an evil cult. Yilingjun coldly glanced at Qin Shiyuan, the pressure of a superior instantly flooding out. Her whole family is related to an evil cult. Miss Qin, are you implying that I, the president, am also related to an evil cult? Qin Shiyuan panicked and fretfully replied. Why would you think that, President? That's not what I meant. I was talking about Worryless Nya's whole family. Yilingjun expressionlessly said. I'm her father, so when you say her whole family, it naturally includes me. You're her father? Qin Shiyuan thought Yilingjun still didn't understand the situation, so she quickly explained. President, are you still confused? This woman isn't your beloved daughter, Yunma. She's Worryless Nya. Yin Heng abducted Worryless Nya's son, but Yunma came running here and demanding the child back, directly admitting she's Worryless Nya. With so many pairs of eyes watching, it's absolutely true. She is that lowly woman. Yilingjuan's face turned icy. That's correct. Worryless Nya is my daughter. Worryless Nya is the president's daughter? A commotion swept through the room following Yilingjuan's words, and everyone's eyes shot open in shock. Qin Shiyuan's pupils contracted abruptly, and she stared incredulously at Yilingjun. Yin Heng's expression also changed. What did Yi Lingjun just say? Worryless Nya is his daughter? Has the president gone muddle-headed? At this moment Medusa, who had followed Yi Lingjun, glanced at Yin Hung and Qin Zong before coldly asking, "Did you think the president would be so foolish that he'd mistake his own daughter?" Chapter 2379. Acted out a whole play this. Everyone was dumbfounded, confused about everything going on. Medusa continued. As everyone knows, the president has students covering the earth, but only lacked a personal disciple. And the second Miss of Yin City's Nya family, Miss Worryless Nya, is the only personal disciple that Sir President accepted. She's my little junior sister. Little junior sister was injured earlier and was stranded in China, thus losing contact with Master for many years. They only reunited recently. What? Worryless Nya is the president's long-lost personal disciple. Shit. No one expected Worryless Nya to possess this alternate identity, Medusa said. Worryless Nya and my master are close like father and daughter, so how could she be a spy? If she wanted to spy on the Arbitration Council's secrets, would she have had to go about it so complicatedly? Nobody could refute Medusa. Since she's the president's personal disciple, how did she become the president's daughter? Don't tell me she's the illegitimate daughter of President and Madame Nya? Qin Shiyuan questioned from the side. Medusa's expression chilled. Nonsense. How could you rashly spout this kind of slander? This kind of matter absolutely couldn't occur based on Yi Lingjuan's personality. If that had happened, it'd be the same as Yi Lingjuan's public image collapsing, and it would also immensely impact his reputation. Since that's not it, why did Miss Worryless Nya appear as Yi Yunma out of nowhere? There must be a reason, right? A director next to Qin Zong asked, and the other directors all nodded in agreement. At this moment, the silent Yi Wanwan raised her foot and released Qin Zong momentarily only to use her other foot to step on him again. She then turned to Qin Zong and asked with raised brows, "Vice President Qin, shouldn't you know best why I would appear using the identity of Yi Yunma and present myself as the president's daughter in front of everyone?" Qin Zong's expression darkened. "Me? You must be joking, Miss Nya. Why would I know?" "Oh, you don't know? That's fine. I'll explain it to you slowly." Yi Wanwan snorted. "These years, you've used your position as the vice president of the Arbitration Council to stuff your pockets and indulge in bribery and fraud. Who knows how many shady dealings you've conducted in secret? According to your plan, the position of the next president would belong to you. At that time, your power would be all-encompassing. Those matters naturally wouldn't come to light, and you could continue to use the position of president to seek your personal gains. However, who could have expected President Yi to suddenly have a daughter he spoiled with no limits? If you didn't witness the sudden introduction of President Yi's daughter, if you didn't think President Yi had intentions for his daughter to succeed his position, why would you be driven to desperate action and resort to assassinating me? Assassinating Yi Yunma. If it wasn't for that, why would you have messed up your own plans and destroyed all evidence of your crimes these past years in such haste that I managed to obtain information against you? My master has extensive foresight and knew about the things you've done long ago. But he didn't have evidence, so he colluded with me to act out this play and make you reveal your flaws so that he could eradicate you, a malignant tumor concealed in the Arbitration Council. Yi Wanwan spoke righteously and honorably from start to end. Yi Lingjun was dumbfounded and nearly also believed what she said was true. As for Qin Zong, his expression was still composed at first but darkened as he listened. When he heard the last sentence, his expression changed drastically and he furiously shouted, "Little bitch, you're spouting nonsense. What assassination? What evidence? Utter nonsense." Chapter 2380. Don't dirty your foot. Qin Shiyuan also quickly said. Worryless Nya, my father is the vice president of the Arbitration Council. Do you know the consequences of accusing and slandering him without any proof? The other directors were also incredulous when they heard this, and many directors from Qin Zong's party spoke on his behalf. At this moment, footsteps were heard from the distance. In his black windbreaker and with a brown briefcase in hand, Si Yihan walked toward the crowd. Upon seeing Si Yihan, Yi Wanwan's unease finally settled. Agio. Si Yihan ignored everyone and stopped in front of Yi Wanwan. He coldly glanced at the Yin Hung tightly pressed against the floor beneath her foot and frowned. Wanwan, let go. Yi Wanwan protested. No. He abducted Tang Tang. Don't dirty your foot. After saying that, Si Yihan shot Lin Ke a look. Lin Ke resigned himself to his fate and pursed his lips as he walked over. All right, let me do this kind of task. Let go, ninth sister. I will step on him for you. I'm not afraid of dirtying myself. Gently embraced by Si Yihan, Yi Wanwan finally lifted her foot and returned to Si Yihan's side. Yin Hung screamed in pain as he was stepped on again by Lin Quebec. After placating Yi Wanwan, Si Yihan brought over the brown briefcase to Yi Lingjun. President, I've fortunately succeeded in obtaining the item you wanted. When Qin Zong saw the object in Si Yihan's hand, his expression shifted and an ominous feeling rose in him. Yin Hung also held his breath. Great! You've worked hard. Yi Lingjun took the briefcase from Si Yihan before throwing it at Qin Zong's feet with a bang. His expression was dark as he said, See for yourself. Qin Zong truly panicked this time. With a tremble, he picked up the briefcase from the floor while the directors near him also bent down to pick up the documents that fell out of the briefcase. Shock filled everyone who saw the contents. Wasn't Qin Zong's appetite too insatiable? He actually used the arbitration council to dredge up so much money for himself, and committed crimes knowingly as the vice president of the arbitration council. Who knew how many inconceivable deeds he'd done in secret? Each and every deed was tracked and presented before everyone by Si Yihan. Guards, take Vice President Qin away, and lock down the Qin residence immediately. Yi Lingjun ordered. Soon, guards poured inside and securely arrested Qin Zong. Qin Shiyuan was also seized and turned to Yi Lingjun. Panic written all over her face. President, this is a misunderstanding. There must be a misunderstanding here. Don't listen to that little bitch's poison, President. Yi Lingjun responded. Miss Qin, if there's something you wish to say, you will have the opportunity to do so at your trial. Qin Shiyuan's legs turned limp and defeat enveloped her face. It was all over. Yin Hung. It's your fault. It's all your fault. You piece of garbage. Garbage. You did this. Qin Shiyuan hysterically pounced on Yin Hung, causing Yin Hung to vomit several more mouthfuls of blood with her kicks. If he didn't fail in his assassination of worryless Nia, how could they have alerted their enemies? How could their Qin family be destroyed? Qin Shiyuan was overrun with regret at this moment. Her biggest mistake in life was choosing to form an alliance with this idiot, Yin Hung. Si Yihan. If she dated Si Yihan, things absolutely wouldn't have turned out like this. However, it was too late. Everything was too late. Qin Shiyuan was lifelessly dragged away by the guards, but her expression was filled with envy and hatred as she looked at Yi Wanwan. What she found harder to accept than her father being arrested was that she never would have expected this lowly and wretched woman to actually be Yi Lingjun's sole personal disciple. Chapter 2381. Have you mistaken something? Everyone in the independent state knew there was a gargantuan difference between a personal disciple and an outer disciple. There was only one personal disciple and maybe 2 or 3 other disciples at most who would be imparted with every technique. On the other hand, there could be thousands of outer disciples and the majority were taught by other older disciples, and many of those outer disciples wouldn't even come into contact with their master. For someone of Yi Lingjun's prestige, it was honorable enough even if you possessed the title of his outer disciple, let alone the fact that Yi Wanwan was Yi Lingjun's sole personal disciple. Instantly, everyone's gaze toward worryless Nia changed. In conjunction, everyone looked at Si Yihan with a face full of admiration. They previously assumed Si Yihan was as blind as a bat, but it now appeared that he was the true winner in life. Amongst everyone present, the person who felt the worst was likely none other than Yin Hung. Yin Hung dazedly lay on the ground, his eyes incredulous as he stared at Si Yihan. After learning about Yi Wanwan's identity, the envy and hatred he felt toward Si Yihan agonized him more than the physical pain he felt. Why? Why couldn't he match up to Si Yihan in any area in his life? He wouldn't accept it. How could he possibly accept it? After Qin Zong was taken away for his punishment, Lin Ke reminded everyone, "Hey, what should we do with this guy?" On this matter, Yi Lingjun had to side with Yi Wanwan no matter what. Hence, he austerely turned to Yin Hung and said, "Yin Hung, regardless of your grievances, you shouldn't have dragged innocent people into it, let alone a child. You should release Tang Tang." A chilly smile crept onto Yin Hang's dumbfounded face. "Ha ha ha. What if I won't?" Yi Wanwan clenched her fists instantly, and was about to say something when Yi Lingjun stopped her and ordered, "Bring him back. We'll find ways to make him speak." "Yes," the guards answered and made to seize Yin Hung. However, before the guards could do anything, a voice was heard behind everyone. "Hold on." Everyone automatically turned around and saw a black-dressed Yin Yuerong returning from her trip with several servants in tow. When Yi Lingjun saw Yin Yuerong returning, he furrowed his brows. He knew the issue was about to become tricky. However, Yi Lingjun didn't reveal anything in his expression and calmly greeted her. "Director Yin is back." As soon as Yin Hung saw Yin Yuerong, hope surfaced in his numb and dark expression, and his eyes brightened. "Mother! Mother, save me." Yin Yuerong haughtily glanced at her adopted son lying on the ground, without a ripple of emotions in her eyes. Her gaze then flitted over Si Yihan and Yi Wanwan before settling on Yi Lingjun. She aloofly asked, "President, I have gained a general understanding of the matter, but may I ask what wrong Ahung committed that's causing President Yi to personally take him away?" Yi Lingjun frowned minutely before replying, "Since you've heard what happened, Director Yin, you should also know that Yin Hung abducted Worryless son." Yin Yuerong smiled and said composedly, "President, have you mistaken something? Worryless Nia's son is also my Yin Yuerong's grandson. I merely sent Ahung to bring my grandson here and reunite him with me, his grandmother. How can it be considered abduction?" Yi Lingjuan's expression darkened a tinge. Although Yin Yuerong was absolutely making excuses, there wasn't a single flaw they could pick apart. Even Yi Wanwan and Si Yihan couldn't refute their relationship. Chapter 2382. WTF. Yin Yuerong's eyes carried a tinge of coldness as she continued. "President, as a director, I strictly obey all of the Arbitration Council's laws. If Yin Hung committed a crime, I will punish him without lenience. However, this is clearly the Yin family's personal business. What do you say, President?" Regardless of how high Yi Lingjuan's position was, he didn't have the right to manage other people's family business. Yi Lingjun felt his head pounding. Yin Yuerong was incredibly tricky, and even he was extremely unwilling to have dealings with her. Yi Wanwan suppressed her fury before saying, "Director Yin, if you have any issues, you can come at me. Don't harm a child." Yin Yuerong turned to Yi Wanwan and smiled. "How capable you are to have even deceived me, Miss Nia. No wonder Ajio is so hell-bent on you. However, no need to be so nervous, Miss Nia. I said that I'm Tong Tong's grandmother, so there shouldn't be any issue for a grandmother to bring her grandson to live with her for a few days, right?" Yi Wanwan bore Si Yihan in mind and seriously couldn't say anything awful. At this moment, Si Yihan glanced at Yin Hung, who was moaning in pain on the floor, and ordered Lin Ke. "Lin Ke, bring young Master Yin back." "All right, ninth brother." Lin Ke immediately summoned several people to securely bind Yin Hung before throwing him in the back. Then Si Yihan apathetically said, "I'm Yin Hang's brother, so I'm sure Director Yin won't mind me inviting him to my place as a guest for a few days." Yi Wanwan. Yi Lingjun exasperatedly looked at this mother and son duo. "You use my son to threaten me, so I will also use your adopted son to threaten you. WTF. Upon seeing Si Yihan actually using Yin Hung to threaten her, a dark glint sparked in Yin Yuerong's eyes but was quickly hidden. She chuckled lightly and said, "If you wish." Probably not expecting this response from Yin Yuerong, Si Yihan's expression darkened. Meanwhile, Yin Hung was shocked, not expecting Yin Yuerong to disregard him this easily. He exclaimed, "Mother! No. He couldn't end up in Si Yihan's possession. He absolutely couldn't. Si Yihan absolutely wouldn't spare him." Upon seeing a war on the verge of breaking out between the mother and son duo, Lingjun felt his head pounding. If the mother and son duo seriously started fighting, even he, the president, wouldn't be able to control the scene. Lingjun had no choice but to quickly send his daughter a look. Yi Wanwan frowned and took a deep breath to calm herself down. She walked in front of Si Yihan. Ajio, we'll go back first and think of something. Can't you tell? There's no way Yin Yuerong would release Tang Tang in front of so many people. Otherwise, what would happen to her face? Plus, you're forcefully clashing with her like this. Yin Yuerong absolutely isn't someone who would back down and compromise. She will only clash with you to the end. We can't save Tang Tang like this. As Si Yihan listened to the girl's soft persuading voice, logic finally returned to him. It had to be said that Wanwan was correct. Although she hadn't had many interactions with Yin Yuerong, she had a deep understanding of Yin Yuerong's personality. Ajio, let's go back first. We'll negotiate privately with Yin Yuerong later. Plus, with my master also helping, it shouldn't be a big problem to make her release Tang Tang. Yi Wanwan continued. Yin Yuerong swept her eyes over all the guests. It's late already, so I won't keep everyone. Unless everyone wants to stay and visit some more? With this swords-drawn situation, how could those higher-ups and directors dare to stay? Where would they seek justice if they became collateral damage? Hence, everyone hastily bid farewell and excused themselves. Chapter 2383. Where's that child? Si Yihan and Yin Yuerong met each other's eyes. Feeling the comforting hand in his grasp, Si Yihan finally relented. All right. This time, it was Yin Yuerong's turn to be surprised. She subconsciously glanced at Yi Wanwan next to him. She didn't expect her son to take a step back first with his personality. Late at night, in Si Yihan's residence, Tang Tang was still in the hands of Yin Yuerong. Both Yi Wanwan and Si Yihan's expressions didn't look too good. Lin Kei's head ached as he asked, how should we deal with that guy Yin Hung? How about we imprison him and interrogate him with torture? Perhaps Auntie Rong's heart would hurt then? After all, he's her only heir, so she must care about him to some degree, right? Si Yihan mulled over it for a moment before replying. Use the standard torture every day, but no need to watch over him too closely. Allow him to contact the outside. Lin Kei was first startled before understanding dawned on him. Oh, I get it. We're making him ask Auntie Rong for help, right? You're so smart, ninth brother. Alright, I understand. Yi Wanwan glanced at Si Yihan. Ajio, are you certain Yin Yuerong cares about Yin Heng's survival? This isn't how you show concern for someone. I seriously can't see how Yin Hung is useful as a hostage. Anyway, Yin Hung can only be considered as an abandoned chess piece, Si Yihan said. She does care about Yin Hung. At least with Yin Heng here, Tang Tang will be safe. When Yi Wanwan heard Si Yihan say that Yin Yuerong cared about Yin Hung, her heart panged inexplicably. If she doesn't release Tang Tang within 3 days, I will use my own method to resolve this, Si Yihan said. His own method? Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. She truly didn't wish for matters to exacerbate to that extent. At the Yin residence, Yin Heng's confidant, Zhong, was quivering as he knelt on the floor. Madam, this subordinate was wrong. This subordinate is really sorry. Zhong kept kowtowing, scared witless. Yin Yuerong smiled sardonically. Wrong? I would like to hear what you did wrong. Zhong quickly replied. This subordinate shouldn't have allowed young master Yin Hung to act rashly, shouldn't have allowed him to abduct little young master. Yin Yuerong smashed the teacup in her hand. What you did wrong wasn't abducting that child. What you did wrong was your idiocy and arrogance. She was well aware of Yin Heng's private dealings with Qin Zong, but she intentionally didn't warn Yin Hung because she wanted to test him. Who would have expected Yin Hung to be idiotic to this extent, and make himself someone else's sword step by step? The housekeeper sighed and muttered to herself. Now that things have turned out like this and we've even abducted that child, eldest young master absolutely won't return to the Yin estate. She originally thought the mother and son duo's relationship could improve after eldest young master returned to Tianshui City, but who would have expected it to worsen progressively? What? Do you think he's my only option? Even without him, even without In Hung, I can have a second In Hung. In Yuerong furiously spat out. She originally thought he would return as long as he left that woman, but now, she knew that this son of hers absolutely wouldn't return. The housekeeper wanted to say something but didn't dare to refute her madam. How could it be the same? Madam clearly knew that regardless of who it was, they couldn't be the same as eldest young master in the end. Where's the child? In Yuerong asked. Ajong cautiously answered. Young master In Hung ordered people to guard him. Send him to Wanmei Villa first, In Yuerong commanded. Chapter 2384. Merely a piece of trash, yes, Ajong replied. The housekeeper was worried. What are you planning, madam? In truth, young master In Hung went too far on this matter, and shouldn't have implicated an innocent child no matter what. How about we release that child? This way, young master In Hung will also be safe. In Yuerong aloofly glanced at the housekeeper. Since when can you lecture me on what to do? Forgive me, madam, I've overstepped. The housekeeper hastily knelt down, sweat drenching her forehead. This matter had greatly provoked madam, causing madam to be rather unstable. If madam did something to that child impulsively, the consequences would be inconceivable. Ajong waited for half a day, but In Yuerong still didn't mention In Hung at all, so he couldn't resist. Madam. What about young master In Hung? We have to hurry and save him. There wasn't a lick of warmth on In Yuerong's face. He's merely a piece of trash? Is he worth my energy? In the hidden room that held In Hung prisoner. After night descended, Ajong took a chance and pretended to be a guard to sneak inside. To his surprise, he succeeded. Young master. Young master. When In Hung heard Ajong calling, he darted up in a fluid motion and stared at the new arrival in astonishment. Ajong, why are you here? Ajong replied. I was worried about young master's safety, so I took the risk and sneaked inside. Hurry and save me. In Hung couldn't stay a second longer in this wretched place. Young master, the security is tight here, so it was already hard for me to sneak inside. I can't take you with me? Ajong replied, troubled. Damn it, In Hung glowered. How is the situation on mother's side? When is mother coming to save me? Did mother ask you to come? Reluctance filled Ajong's face, and he hesitantly said, Madam, she didn't mention your situation. Ajong didn't dare to tell In Hung the truth. Judging from In Yuerong's attitude, she had no plans to save In Hung. In Hung was startled. What do you mean she didn't mention my situation? In Yuerong actually didn't mention saving him at all? Could he really be abandoned? I'm impossible. Impossible. Although I've disappointed mother this time. Mother spent so much energy on me. I'm her only heir. She absolutely wouldn't give up on me. In Hung protested. Ajong said, Yes, you're right, young master. Aside from relying on you, who else can madam rely on now? Madam and eldest young master are incompatible as fire and water now, and eldest young master absolutely won't return. You should also know what Si Yihan is like. I'm sure madam simply can't think of a good method to save you for the moment. In Hung gritted his teeth. Yes, that's right. So what if worryless Nia is the president's personal disciple? Si Yihan and mother's relationship absolutely won't heal, and mother will persist in impeding that bill from passing. Moreover, mother loathes that woman so much, so she'll definitely torture that little bastard. At that point, neither side will win. At that time, the In family will be mine. Joy enveloped Ajong's face. You're brilliant, young master. Ajong, you know what to do after leaving, right? I know. I'll definitely laud some more praise about young master in front of madam, and inform madam that you've been ruthlessly tortured and interrogated here, and ask her to save you. As for the little bastard, I'm sure madam will torture him enough without me doing much. Madam won't spare him easily. Great, In Hung said. Chapter 2385. Are you a celestial maiden, older sister? Next morning, at a sprawling villa located in the middle of a mountain. Wanmei Villa was one of Yin Yuerong's private properties with a very hidden location. It was specifically used by Yin Yuerong to raise gu insects and craft poison. Rumors claimed poison pervaded the air while poisonous insects covered the earth. Everyone in Tianshui City knew it was a forbidden area, and no one dared to approach. Because Yin Yuerong liked plum flowers, a forest of plum trees was planted in the villa, meticulously tended by the servants. It was currently the blossoming period for plum trees, so the fragrance of plum blossoms permeated every inch of the villa. However, the architectural style of this villa was overly antiquated, and the color scheme was dark. The scenery was clearly gorgeous but appeared eerie and lifeless, and even the flowers appeared creepy. Early in the morning, light snow started dusting the sky. Accompanied by the howling of the wintry wind, the manor appeared especially desolate and frightening. "Madam." As soon as Yin Yuerong stepped inside the living room, a servant cast down their head and stepped forward to take Yin Yuerong's jacket off while a female servant rushed to serve their master hot tea. Every servant silently stood in 2 rows on each side, none daring to breathe loudly. Yin Yuerong took a sip of the pu'er before saying, "Bring him here." "Yes, yes, yes." Ajong nodded frantically and quickly ordered his underlings, "Hurry and bring that little bastard here." Yin Yuerong's brows imperceptibly knitted upon hearing Ajong's words, but didn't comment on it. Soon, footsteps were heard outside the door, and 2 underlings brought a young child around 4 or 5 years old into the room. The child was still wearing his blue school uniform. His skin was fair and pink, his cheeks chubby with baby fat, and his eyes were clear and bright, as though their observer had fallen into the starry night. Despite being abducted to this strange and scary place, the little fella's face didn't contain a trace of panic, and he merely looked around curiously. After Tang Tang was brought over, he first examined his surroundings before his gaze landed on the woman sitting on the red wooden chair. Yin Yuerong was dressed in a tight black outfit as usual with black boots wrapping her feet, though the color black merely complemented her skin and made it appear whiter. Her hair was black as ink while her exquisite looks lacked the smallest wrinkle. If it weren't for her overly harsh aura and frightening expression, people would believe it if she was said to be 30 years old. At this moment, Yin Yuerong was also scrutinizing the child before her. The moment she saw the child, she froze minutely. This fair child crafted from jade simply looked identical to Ajio when he was young. In fact, he was fairer and cuter than Ajio when he was young. Even the housekeeper nearby was astonished and lowered her voice to whisper to Yin Yuerong, "Oh my madam, this child looks so similar to eldest young master when he was young." The child not only resembled Ajio but his features also resembled that woman. This child completely inherited the finest points of his parents. Worry filled the housekeeper's face when she saw Yin Yuerong's tempestuous expression. She was afraid Yin Yuerong would take her anger out on this child. "Madam." The housekeeper was still hesitating over how she should advise her madam when the little fella in the middle of the living room looked to the left and looked to the right before settling his sparkling gaze on Yin Yuerong and childishly asking, "Older sister, you're so pretty. Are you a celestial maiden?" Yin Yuerong. The housekeeper. Yin Yuerong probably never expected this to be the child's first line upon seeing her. Her expression was evidently startled, and her brows furrowed as well. However, that expression couldn't be considered as angry. She merely didn't know how to react from the surprise. Yin Yuerong's expression turned stern. "Nonsense isn't permitted." Tang Tang tilted his head in confusion. "What? You have a rule that forbids people from telling the truth, older sister?" Yin Yuerong. This was Yin Yuerong's first time being rendered speechless. Chapter 2386. Hurry and eat this, older sister. The housekeeper finally reacted a moment later and chuckled. "Madam, don't be angry. Children are young and innocent, and don't know how to lie. You look young to begin with, and people used to believe you and eldest young master were siblings when you went out together. Anyway, you're good looking, so it's no wonder the child misunderstood. There probably wasn't a single woman in the world who didn't like being described as good looking, and Yin Yuerong was no exception." At that moment, a servant entered the living room while carrying a bowl of black medicine. "Madam, it's time to take your medicine." Inuerong perpetually came into contact with goo insects and her body was contaminated by poison, naturally sustaining damage, so she constantly needed to take medicine to recover. This wasn't normal medicine. It was overwhelmingly black with an extremely frightening appearance and utterly unbearable odor. As soon as the medicine was served, all the servants couldn't help but wrinkle their brows. "Older sister, what is that?" Tang Tang asked inquisitively. Inuerong wanted to correct this child's term of address, but didn't for some reason. She carelessly replied, "Medicinal soup." Baby Tang Tang appeared worried instantly. "Are you sick, older sister?" When Inuerong saw the untainted worry in the child's eyes, she was startled. She couldn't remember how long it had been since she'd seen such pure concern. When the housekeeper noticed the lack of response from her madam, she helped explain gently. "Madam's body has just been damaged slightly, and she needs the medicine to recover. Don't worry." Inuerong stopped paying attention to that child, and merely picked up the medicine like it was a bowl of normal congee, and downed it expressionlessly. Even though it was such a frightening bowl of liquid that made others nauseous solely by the smell, all Inuerong did was frown lightly after drinking it. Tang Tang unblinkingly watched Inuerong the entire time. After Inuerong finished drinking the medicine, he rustled around in his pocket and dug out a colorful item, opening it quickly as he sprinted toward Inuerong. Then he stripped that piece of milk candy from its wrapper and stuffed it into Inuerong's mouth. "Hurry and eat this, older sister," Ajong shouted immediately. "Damn brat, do you want to die? What did you feed madam?" Tang Tang blinked and peered at the man. "It's milk candy. It's very sweet, so the aftertaste won't be bitter anymore." Inuerong wasn't on guard against the child in the slightest, so she was stuffed with the piece of candy without warning. A sweet fragrance filled her mouth instantly, slowly dissipating the nauseating bitterness inside. She looked down and saw the child's concerned and anticipatory eyes. "Older sister, it's not bitter anymore, right? It was mommy who bought this milk candy for me. I only had this one left." As the little fella said that, sadness filled his face. He only had one left but still gave it to her. She never expressed any emotion that indicated the medicine tasted bitter, so everyone thought she could tolerate this taste and she herself had gotten used to it ages ago. This was the first time someone was actually worried that she would find the medicine bitter. Ajong panicked. "Madam, who knows what in the world that was? Perhaps it's poisonous." "The little bastard, he." Inuerong's expression chilled at once. "Shut up. Is it your turn to speak?" Ajong scowled at that child. He never expected the first meeting between these two people to be so strange. No, he couldn't allow this to continue. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.